Intro. If you are new to my readings, you will see that I say this expression many times. The more attention you pay to something, the more attention it pays to you. This brings me to the subject of synchronicity. Many people don't quite believe in it. Many years ago, I probably thought the same thing. Yet over the last 50 years, I've seen it so much on my journey. It's now a part of my life. The mysterious appears mysterious because it is not practical in your life. The mysteries and signposts are all around us. We just don't have the eyes to see. A couple of weeks ago, I wrote a piece called Your Next Breath. I posted this on Facebook. A dear friend named Lauren responded with a comment to an Amazon link for a book called Breath. This sent me off another grand adventure. I write about the science of breathing all the time. In the last 5 years, I have written around 60 books. I've been through the titles of all the books that I have written. I found I had written a book about the science of breath. I find that quite fascinating because the main theme is in the research that I do is about the power of the breath. Another quote that I love and use all the time is the following. You are the universe. You just don't know. Come with me on this journey. I'm learning so much along the way. I have studied the power of breath for over 50 years. We will never unlock the true mysteries behind it. Something so simple, yet it is probably the most complicated thing in the universe. We take breathing so much for granted. Most of us are on autopilot. Due to being on autopilot, a whole myriad of diseases occur in our civilization today. Probably less than 1% of the population breathes properly. The majority of Western scientists still believe that there is no difference between breathing through your mouth and breathing through your nose. I find that quite fascinating. In the East, for around 5,000 years, they have known that breathing through your mouth is called the kiss of death. They call it the breath of death. When it comes to breathing, these ancient ones were probably the true PhDs of their time. Breathing was not some theoretical idea. It was a practical experience. The human body is an incredible chemistry set. Unfortunately today, around the world, we don't even know that we are in charge of our chemistry sets. We think the external drives the internal. We get that backwards. The internal always drives the external. Can you imagine we have the operating system, hardware, and software to discover our true nature? Everything is set up and wired up. Unfortunately, humanity has never turned on the computer. The mystics of old understood that there is a universal battery of life behind our breath. Over thousands of years, they learned to refine the techniques to become in harmony with the earth and the universe. Being in harmony has been talked about in the East for thousands of years. I remember quite young reading the Tao Te Ching teachings, and yet I couldn't comprehend a single word. Years later, I wrote a commentary on this precious book. One who learns to be in harmony is humble. When one is humble, wisdom comes his way. The universe will not give its wisdoms unless one is humble. The heart must be like a child. Only in that state will the universe speak to you. Each breath you take is a miracle. We take it so much for granted. Scientists say we see only 1% of the light's spectrum. Just think, heaven probably is all around us. We just don't have the eyes to see. We breathe in such a mechanical and unconscious way. I find it amazing that we're still live as long as we do. In the future, I believe many diseases will be cured by the power of the breath. Western medicine still believes that medicine can cure almost anything. When I was 18 years old, my brother and I believed in the world of preventative medicine. We saw that Western medicine is only a band-aid. It will mask the symptoms, but not cure the source. It has so many side effects. How many times have you heard a pharmaceutical commercial that says, in a sweet voice, this drug could cause death? If you and I had a product on the market that said this, we would have been shut down in less than a second. Yet thousands of commercials are flooded all around us. We need to find tools that are free and easy to use in our everyday life. The universe does not charge for its wisdom. Breathing is free. The universe does not charge by the breath. If a corporation could do so, it probably would. Intro. If you are new to my readings, you will see that I say this expression many times. The more attention you pay to something, the more attention it pays to you. This brings me to the subject of synchronicity. Many people don't quite believe in it. Many years ago, I probably thought the same thing. Yet over the last 50 years, I've seen it so much on my journey. It's now a part of my life. The mysterious appears mysterious because it is not practical in your life. The mysteries and signposts are all around us. We just don't have the eyes to see. A couple of weeks ago, I wrote a piece called Your Next Breath. I posted this on Facebook. A dear friend named Lauren responded with a comment to an Amazon link for a book called Breath. This set me off another grand adventure. I write about the science of breathing all the time. In the last 5 years, I have written around 60 books. I've been through the titles of all the books that I have written. I found I had written a book about the science of breath. I find that quite fascinating because the main theme is in the research that I do is about the power of the breath. Another quote that I love and use all the time is the following: "You are the universe. You just don't know." Come with me on this journey. I'm learning so much along the way. I have studied the power of breath for over 50 years. We will never unlock the true mysteries behind it. Something so simple, yet it is probably the most complicated thing in the universe. We take breathing so much for granted. Most of us are on autopilot. Due to being on autopilot, a whole myriad of diseases occur in our civilization today. Probably less than 1% of the population breathes properly. The majority of Western scientists still believe that there is no difference between breathing through your mouth and breathing through your nose. I find that quite fascinating. In the East, for around 5,000 years, they have known that breathing through your mouth is called the kiss of death. They call it the breath of death. When it comes to breathing, these ancient ones were probably the true PhDs of their time. Breathing was not some theoretical idea. It was a practical experience. The human body is an incredible chemistry set. Unfortunately today, around the world, we don't even know that we are in charge of our chemistry sets. We think the external drives the internal. We get that backwards. The internal always drives the external. Can you imagine we have the operating system, hardware, and software to discover our true nature? Everything is set up and wired up. Unfortunately, humanity has never turned on the computer. The mystics of old understood that there is a universal battery of life behind our breath. Over thousands of years, they learned to refine the techniques to become in harmony with the earth and the universe. Being in harmony has been talked about in the East for thousands of years. I remember quite young reading the Tao Te Ching teachings, and yet I couldn't comprehend a single word. Years later, I wrote a commentary on this precious book. One who learns to be in harmony is humble. When one is humble, wisdom comes his way. The universe will not give its wisdoms unless one is humble. The heart must be like a child. Only in that state will the universe speak to you. Each breath you take is a miracle. We take it so much for granted. Scientists say we see only 1% of the light's spectrum. Just think, heaven probably is all around us. We just don't have the eyes to see. We breathe in such a mechanical and unconscious way. I find it amazing that we're still live as long as we do. In the future, I believe many diseases will be cured by the power of the breath. Western medicine still believes that medicine can cure almost anything. When I was 18 years old, my brother and I believed in the world of preventative medicine. We saw that Western medicine is only a band-aid. It will mask the symptoms, but not cure the sores. It has so many side effects. How many times have you heard a pharmaceutical commercial that says, in a sweet voice, this drug could cause death? If you and I had a product on the market that said this, we would have been shut down in less than a second. Yet thousands of commercials are flooded all around us. We need to find tools that are free and easy to use in our everyday life. The universe does not charge for its wisdom. Breathing is free. The universe does not charge by the breath. If a corporation could do so, it probably would.
I remember one event which totally changed my life. In 6th grade, my brother and I had a paper route. My brother wanted to buy a surfboard. My parents said, save your money and you can. At that time, I didn't care one way or the other. On Christmas Day in 7th grade, my parents gave us money towards our brand new surfboard. From that moment on, something clicked in my consciousness. It took us only 3 months to buy our new boards. We bought a Gordy surfboard in Huntington Beach. These boards were priceless for my brother and I. My father would take us after school and on weekends. My life from then on was of the sea. I felt totally at home. All my problems would disappear into the ocean. My happiest moments in junior high school and high school revolved around the ocean. It's hard to explain the excitement of riding a wave. Such joy and happiness comes from this experience. As a child, surfing was a form of meditation for me. I would love to wake up early in the morning and my dad would drive us to the beach. I loved the early mornings. It was a spiritual experience to be in the ocean and experience the harmony of nature. During my summer of my 7th grade, my brother and I would be dropped off at a beach called Big Corona. We would surf for 5 hours, and then we would paddle home about 4 miles. We would arrive home exhausted, and my dad sometimes made homemade pizza for lunch. We had a great summer. Surfing taught me to leave all my troubles on life and to be in the majesty of the ocean. The ocean was a great place for healing. It was alive. I will never forget my first wave riding the surfboard. My dad gave my brother and me a surfing lesson from the famous surfer of the time, Mickey Munoz. We got out of school early one day and drove 45 minutes south to a beach named Doheny. We waxed our boards and paddled out to the waves. I remember when it was my turn, Mickey Munoz gently pushed me into a small wave. It was probably 1 foot, but this 1 foot wave gave me such an exhilaration. I felt I was riding a 10-foot wave. Inside I was screaming, yes, yes, yes. There was so much joy and bliss that I knew I was hooked. Surfing from that moment on became part of my life. Years later, I feel so grateful with my connection with surfing in the sea. It literally saved my life. It was my home and a refuge. It was a place on earth where I could go and be alone with myself. I developed a strong bond with the sea. Surfing at that time represented our primordial roots with life. All life is based upon water. Without water, our whole world would die. How incredible that human beings can ride the waves of life. We take it so much for granted. I feel that without surfing, I probably never would have survived my teenage years. Surfing was a vehicle to experience something far greater than I learned in schools. It touched the very source of life itself. I needed in my life practical ways to experience the glories of life, and surfing would provide me with that experience. I knew as a youth that we're all going through the motions of life. We were taught to memorize and not to question our existence. So many times the dreamers would get scolded, "That's how it is. Don't ask questions. Just carry on." Surfing allowed me to ask questions and to experience the wonders of life. I knew I was protected and my life was on track. Years later, I realized that surfing brought me in contact with Gaia, the Mother Earth. I could go surfing and all the troubles of life would go away. The planet is alive and conscious. I learned this at a young age. Surfing brought me the experience that the ocean is alive. It communicates to you by the power of love. Talk to any surfer and they will say the same thing. Maybe they can't put words to it, but they will agree that the ocean is a marvelous place. One experience I remember in 8th grade was every day I would see this girl named Patty Tucker going down the hall between the 4th or 5th class. We would simply smile at each other. I took her to the Sadie Hawkins dance. Years later, I saw her at our 20th reunion, and both of us remembered how powerful that experience was. It's amazing how some experiences get carried along with you the rest of your life. I'm sure years later, this experience will linger. How powerful we are humans. Just a mere look and no words can generate such a powerful experience. Our feeling was an interconnectedness. It was beyond boy and girl. It was a simple recognition that we are alive, and we both recognized the beauty of it. It was beyond words. Not one word was ever spoken between us in that hallway. However, years later, I can still feel the magic of those moments. I remember in the sixth grade, my brother and I received a series of exercises from my father. My dad drew each exercise on a brown piece of paper. It was enclosed in a brown folder. At that time, my dad said these exercises came from the Air Force. I practiced these exercises for many years. When I began to study yoga, I found out these exercises were really yoga postures. It wasn't until 20 years later that my dad told me that he had a yoga teacher in the early 60s. Those exercises came from my dad's teacher. It was kind of funny. For years, my dad couldn't understand my brother and I. When he found out that both of us were on the same wavelength, we both laughed. It was kind of funny that years later, I realized that the exercises my dad taught me were the foundation of the exercises I do today. Even back then, I was guided in learning about ancient postures which create good health to the body. I did not have any formal teachers, but my brother and I did these exercises every day. To this day, it is a foundation for my physical health. I was lucky as a child. My parents were conscious of the foods we ate. We weren't vegetarian, but our diet was excellent. Our diet consisted of vegetables, grains, fruits, and poultry. We only had soda pop for Christmas and Easter. We had some junk food, but fortunately it was controlled. My body thrived on good, wholesome food. These habits were easily incorporated into my life later on. As a child, my brother and I would go to bed between 7:30 and 8 o'clock every night. Our bodies naturally followed the rhythms of life. Consequently, we hardly ever got sick. I was probably out sick for a week total my whole 12 years in school. Subconsciously, my life was directed to a healthy lifestyle. My mom said you can go to bed as late as you want, knowing that we'd be so tired around 8 o'clock and we would just fall asleep. I remember my mom kissing us goodnight, and we would fall asleep before she got out the door. I believe that everything is contained in our DNA. I feel at a young age I tapped into the past where I had this spiritual upbringing where the human body is divine. At this time, none of my friends could relate to this. This is another factor that we can listen and find guidance from within. We are never alone. In ninth grade, my brother and I went out for cross country and track. I didn't really excel until the 10th grade. Then I was unbeatable. I won every race of the track season. I remember how incredible running was. It was such a rush. My brother and I could run 10 miles in an hour. Running put me in such a trance. At times I felt I was on top of the world. Each step was a living experience of the power of life surging through me. I remember one technique I learned on my own was to breathe through my nose as long as I could during the race. I ran the 13:20 3/4 of a mile. I would usually run 2 laps through my nose, and the last lap I would run as fast as I could through my mouth. I would usually win by a long shot. I remember my last track meet before the finals. I won my event, yet according to some rule, I could be challenged the next day. The following day, I had to run against runners who've been running varsity all year round. I knew that would be very hard to run the next day. It usually took a few days to fully recover. I ran a respectable race, but didn't qualify. That summer, I got totally involved in disc surfing. When the school year began, I decided not to go out for track and cross country. My cross country coach came to my house to try to change my mind, but my mind was changed. My love was surfing. It was kind of funny how leaving cross country and track, my relationship between those two coaches changes. I knew they were disappointed. I was so-called blacklisted from them. I never had the communication we once had. It's amazing how as humans we make decisions, and if they don't agree with your superiors, then they withdraw and no more take interest in you. I still have fond memories of these coaches. I made a choice on my own with pressure coming from parents and coaches. Surfing was really a great part of my life. One of my fondest memories in high school was each year we would have exchange students from Argentina come and leave in the students' home for a month. Each day there would be an after-school activity. We had for 3 years students from Argentina and 1 year a student from Ecuador for 1 year. I remember such great social get-togethers. There was no drugs or alcohol, just good music and dancing. It was a great way for different cultures to get together. I have fond memories getting to know members of the group. Upon leaving, we would always write. I remember one girl named Graciela de Orio. She was an Italian girl. I met her in 9th grade. She was 3 years older than me. It was amazing how mature she was. In our society, a junior would never talk and be social with a 9th grader. She became a good member of our family. My sister Jane went and spent some time with her. I went 3 years later. I really appreciated the manners the Argentines had. They were really representatives of their country and culture. In my junior year, we had Eduardo Pena from Ecuador come and stay at our house. Eduardo became a great member of our family. One of my most memorable surf experiences was going to the Hollister Ranch near Santa Barbara. The ranch was 25 miles of the best waves in California, and it was private. The only way to get in was by boat. One of my brothers and I, childhood friends, was Joyce Caldwell. Her father was president of the Macro Corporation, which owned the place. Her father would give us passes to go there. This place was one of the most beautiful places in the world. Wildflowers were all over the place. At this time, no development was on this property. It was so beautiful driving in there. The waves were so incredible. My brother and I spent 3 years going there. The ranch was every surfer's dream in California. I'll never forget my first trip there. My brother and I drove down from Newport Beach to Santa Barbara. We stayed at our grandparents' overnight. The following day, we drove north 45 minutes to the entrance of the Hollister Ranch. The drive into the ranch was probably one of the most scenic drives I've ever seen. It was a one-lane road going through incredible countryside. The hills were green with incredible wildflowers everywhere. The road passed through beach breaks, point breaks, and reef breaks. This is one of the last uncontaminated frontiers in California. My brother and I were overwhelmed by the beauty. The waves were incredible. My brother and I were the only ones out. We could pick any break we desired. My favorite break was a spot called rights and lefts. The wave was a perfect wave. As soon as you took off, the wave lined up perfectly. It broke on a reef with a rocky shelf. The wave was perfect for tube riding. My brother and I were in heaven. We felt so fortunate. Here we were all alone in one of the best surf spots in California. Years later, in my high school reunion, I saw Joyce and told her my best experience in high school was surfing the ranch. I told Joyce to be sure to thank her dad on behalf of my brother and I. My twin brother and I were very close. My brother was more than a brother. He was my friend. It was a blessing growing up with him. We had such incredible times. Both of us realized our life was special. I owe a lot to my family. Both my mom and dad supported us. I have a younger brother and an older sister. I felt we were a close-knit family. We had all our share of good times. The highlights as a kid was going to Disneyland. We would probably go there twice a year all throughout my childhood. Disneyland represented to me as a child heaven on earth. The place was spotless. I had fond memories of our family outings. I loved when we would go to the beach and have picnics. My dad was an incredible cook and so was my mom. We had a lot of ethnic foods. We would always try out new restaurants. All our family loved trying out new cuisines. My dad worked at home the majority of our childhood.
May 2nd, 2020. One thing leads to another. One thing does lead to another. This is an incredible journey. I remember in my junior year at Newport Harbor High, an elective class that changed my life forever. The entire student body had a choice of 3 or more electives that one had to choose from. Quite frankly, I only remember the one I took. The one I took was a 3-week yoga class that took place on our basketball court. Did anyone out there take that elective? I remember Michael Folks, brother of Missy, taking the class. The teachers were Ramakrishna Ananda, Graham Ledgerwood, and his lovely wife at the time. The class blew my mind. It opened up doors that I knew existed, yet didn't know how to open them up myself. It was love at first sight, yet it was so radical. At that time, there was only one yoga studio in our area. I was 17 years old at that time. Surfing and yoga became my passion in life. Does anyone know how they were invited to our high school? It was extremely radical for its time. It was like a communist coming to our school and teaching communism. This was 51 years ago. Today, the area is flooded with yoga studios. In fact,
Even my mother took classes there in the 80s. Here's the address, 445 East 17th Street, Costa Mesa, next to the car wash. It has been there for 51 years. After I took this 3-week course, I took classes at their yoga center. The incredible wife taught yoga postures, and Graham taught meditation. This helped set my foundation for life. I still practice both today. I think I remember Buddy Owens taking both classes. I don't remember. This series of events led me to go on my surfing odyssey and meditation odyssey around the world, especially in India. That, my friend, is even more of an incredible story. One thing does lead to another.
My first 2 books. Well, once I got into the 3-week yoga class at my high school, I was hooked. For all those people who know me, I love to get my feet in the water. This has always been my nature. I wanted to read books on this subject, so I went to the library. I found 2 books. One by Jess Stern is titled Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation. The other book was the autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. This was a classic for its time and still is a classic. Autobiography of a Yogi. I've read this book numerous times over the past 50 years. Each time I read it, there's something new to understand. I love back then, during the 40s, Yogananda spoke the language of a yogi and quantum scientist. I love reading chapter 26, titled The Science of Kriya Yoga. Each time I read it, it sends chills up and down my spine. This was the first time I ever saw science and meditation coming together. Yogananda's book is just as in sync with today's scientific world. Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation, 1955. I checked this book out from the library probably 2 or 3 times. This was the first book that showed me the different kinds of yoga postures and breathing techniques. I was quite fascinated and took the knowledge to heart. I saw quick improvements in my yoga postures. For some reason, at that time, I had a knack for this. I loved doing them. It was not a burden at all. I tried the meditation techniques. To be honest, it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. Somehow, I knew we have 5 internal senses and 5 external senses. Don't ask me how I knew that, but my brother and I instinctively knew this. You will see later in this book how I discovered that.
During my senior year, I decided to put off college for a while and travel and surf around the world. I had another objective in mind also. I wanted to find a teacher who could reveal to me the experience of my true self. I had glimpses in my life of a life more brilliant than the noonday sun. I knew that God was light. I wanted conscious and direct experience. I wanted tools in my life where I could achieve 24 hours a day connection with the source of life itself. I prayed to God to be shown. I knew there were teachers who had the ability to reveal that experience and unlock that door. After the door was opened, it would be up to me to cultivate that experience. I worked at a grocery store after school on the weekends. I graduated from high school and went on a surfing trip to Mexico for a few weeks. Before I went to Europe, I spent 2 weeks at a yoga camp in Nevada City, Northern California. I had a wonderful time at that yoga camp. The owner of the camp was Kriyananda, a disciple of Yogananda. Yogananda was a famous Indian Swami who died in 1952. Kriyananda was one of his disciples. My fond memories were in the temple late at night. I would meditate late at night and would have these incredible visions inside. I was bathed in a blue light. I felt such a relationship with nature. I felt my life was incredible and that everything was being unfolded. Up to this point in time, I really didn't have the ability to tap into the meditation experience at will. It was a lot of hit and miss. At this yoga camp was the first time I was in an atmosphere where people were consciously trying to experience the source of light. I learned some valuable techniques. I felt such a peace inside of my being. My mind was slowly coming down to a halt. It's kind of funny, without meditation, a human being doesn't realize how powerful the mind is. I remember the first time I closed my eyes and realized a battle was in my hands. It would take patience and work, but it was sure worth it. I spent 2 weeks there and took a plane from Oakland, California to Europe. I went with my high school buddy, Craig Perkins. Craig was a great person to be around. He had a great sense of humor. We hitchhiked from Germany to Denmark. We were looking for a friend named Carter Robinson. We arrived at the dock where Carter lived and found out his boat left a few days earlier. The person told us where they might be for a few days. We hitchhiked to the city and found Carter. It was quite the surprise. We stayed for about a week. They were planning to go to Norway for a while. They asked us if we wanted to go, but we declined. Carter had a guest named Brad Crow, who was an old friend of mine. We grew up together. After leaving Carter, Craig and I went back to Germany. Craig took a plane back to the 60s. Years later, I don't know exactly what happened. On the subconscious level, I wanted to be my own for the first time in my life. Craig will always be a friend. I haven't seen him for more than 23 years. I took a train to Biarritz, France, where my adventure began. My first week in France, I camped out in the woods near La Barre, a famous surf spot. Each day I would go surfing. I met this American named Peter Lingo, and we became good friends. He was also a surfer. He invited me to stay with him in his tent. He had a huge tent that was staying in the campground overlooking La Barre. He also had a car, which helped get around. Both of us didn't smoke, drink, or take drugs. We got some incredible surf. I felt great. We went surfing all over the place. One of my fond memories was driving to this old bakery in the countryside. The views were incredible. The bakery was the same for hundreds of years. They had a stream running through which grounded the wheat. The smells that emanated from that place were truly out of this world. I remember eating these sugar cookies. The people in this part of France were friendly. While I was in France, one day I woke up and saw huge waves breaking. The waves were probably 15 feet high. The surf spot was at La Barre, a famous but now extinct surf spot. I took off on a huge wave, stood up, and the next moment I was free falling down the wave. Back then, there were no leashes. My board got carried to shore. La Barre had a jetty, and there were 15-foot waves breaking on the rocks. The rip was so strong, it was like a river. For the first time in my life, I said, Lord, if you exist, you had better do something real fast. I closed my eyes and saw an incredible light and a small Indian boy. The next moment, I was on shore. Everybody on shore said it was a miracle. The next day, I decided to go to India. As I look back at that experience, I felt the hand that embraced my life. I felt so protected. Here I was only 18 years old, but I knew my life was protected. I was about to start the adventure of a lifetime. This is definitely a near-death experience for me, In the early 70s, I read books about the death experience, and my experience closely resembled that experience. I saw a great light which filled my being with bliss that is boundless. I saw a figure which told me without words that everything would be all right. This experience I knew could be experienced consciously. It didn't have to be a hit or miss affair. I knew a human being could experience the source directly, no matter if he or she were dreaming, sleeping, dreaming, or in a awake state. Man had the ability to tap into the source of life. After my surfing accident, Peter and I started our trip to India. I was very excited. I knew that something wonderful was going to happen in India. All my dreams would come true. We drove from Biarritz to Venice, where we stayed 2 days with an Italian friend from high school. We drove through Yugoslavia. At that time, it was a communist country. The people at that time were very suspicious of outsiders. They weren't very friendly. The countryside was amazing. We were high up in the mountains and could see the Mediterranean Sea. Peter would drive and he had this harmonica he would play. He was actually a good player. We drove to Athens in Greece. We spent a week there. I loved going to the Parthenon. Here I was in the cradle of such an incredible civilization. I was in awe. We sold our car and took an airplane to Turkey. When we landed in Istanbul, I knew this is where East meets West. The city was so different. The Muslim mosques were so beautiful. The policemen had submachine guns. I never saw that before. I remember staying at this house where a lady came in and said we had better leave because the police was going to raid the place. She said people used drugs and the police were going to bust the place. I felt someone taking care of me. I didn't want to end up in a Turkish jail, especially because I don't use drugs. That would be hard to prove in Turkey. We spent a week in Istanbul and then went to Ankara. In Ankara we had to stay a week because the border was closed. The Shah of Iran was having the 1,000-year anniversary party for Persia. He didn't want young Westerners or trouble to come to his land for this party. I heard that the Shah even built props to hide the poverty. I had a friend who went to the party and said it was quite the affair. They had air-conditioned tents. The Shah spent thousands of dollars. While in Ankara, we saw the Queen of England in a parade. There were thousands of soldiers carrying submachine guns. After a week, the border was open and we took trains and buses to Iran. It was quite a scene traveling. Both Peter and I carried our surfboards and our packs. The trains were quite dirty and packed. We slept on the floor of the train. The buses were like the trains, but they had livestock on board. I was getting quite a lesson on life. We arrived at the capital of Tehran. Tehran was quite a beautiful city. We found out that a week before, a young American tourist died the week before. Supposedly she entered a Muslim mosque and was stoned to death. The reason was that only Muslims could go inside the temple. I met a man from the secret police. He came up to me and said that he killed about 30 Americans this year. In Iran, if they find drugs in you, they would shoot you on the spot. What a way to control the drug problem. We then took buses to the border of Afghanistan. This is where the scenery drastically changed. I felt I was transferred back 2,000 years ago. The Afghan people are warriors. Their culture is the same for thousands of years. We were in a high mountain desert. Everyone carried guns or rifles. This is way before the Soviet invasion. I felt I was in a Wild West town. There was no law or order. The people were quite nice, but I knew you didn't want to cross them up. The people in Afghanistan smoked a lot of hash. They used this drug like alcohol. The whole nation used it. The food was quite good. We took a bus from the border and made it to Kabul. Along the way, we bumped into this lion named Charlie Krishna. Charlie was a great guy and we traveled together. Kabul at this time was a hangout for the European hippies. The Europeans were heavily involved in drugs. They used a lot of opium. It's quite sad to see people my age totally addicted to opium. There's nothing I could do. Many of them simply wasted away. The drug was very cheap and could be bought anywhere. I knew a lot of my friends in the States would have loved to be in that environment. It was an eye-opening experience. For the first time, I saw so many kids totally wasted and hanging on to life with a thread. They were thousands of miles from home. During this time, I would meditate every day. I knew something incredible was going to happen to me in India. I just had the intuition that my dreams would come true. I wish I would meet someone who would show me the way to open the door. I felt totally protected. It's a beautiful feeling to know that someone is watching over you. I was thousands of miles away from home, and yet I felt great inside. I felt protected. My main goal was to get to India. Ever since I left France, that feeling kept on getting stronger. I felt such a wave and anticipation that my dreams will come true. I had only a short time and it would be shown to me. I left Kabul and took the Khyber Pass from Afghanistan into Pakistan. The Khyber Pass was used by Genghis Khan. It's one of the oldest trade routes in the world. Throughout history, it has been an important trade route between Central Asia and India. What a radical road. It was all dirt, which most of Afghanistan was. There was no guardrails, and we had these crazy drivers driving as fast as they could down the pass. The buses were quite different. Each bus would have a different altar depending on which religion they belonged to. There would be flowers, incense, pictures, and memorabilia. We would be driving down this huge mountain on a skinny road. This was the one and only route from Afghanistan to Pakistan. Well, we finally made it to Pakistan. Lahore was a busy city. We only stayed for a few days. When I was in Pakistan, I saw signs saying Crush India. When I arrived in India, I saw signs Crush Pakistan. I arrived at the border of India at the beginning of the Indian-Pakistan War. The following day, the border was closed for 5 years. My first day in India was incredible. I remember crossing the border. At this time, there was a 2-mile walk to reach the border, check for India. There were parrots and wild birds everywhere. I felt such a strong spiritual experience. I was home. It's hard to put into words what I was feeling. I knew something incredible was to happen to me in India. I was looking for a teacher who would give me a practical experience of who I was. I remember being checked by an Indian custom lady who was famous for busting people for bringing in drugs into India. Since I didn't use drugs, I wasn't worried. I remember such an aura of peace that came over me. The sun was just setting, and the whole forest was alive. Thousands of parrots were in the forest. The smell was like an incredible perfume in the air. I crossed the border and took an overnight train to New Delhi. When I got to New Delhi, I was very tired and exhausted. I heard rumors that the Sikhs allowed people to stay at their temple. I went to this huge Sikh temple. I asked, "Can I stay here overnight?" The man said no, but there's a huge festival going on down the block. The festival is for Maharaji, a 13-year-old boy who just came back from a tour of the West. I remember 4 months earlier reading about him in Time magazine and from my sister. I was intrigued how a 13-year-old boy could have such a huge following. I arrived at the festival site and was escorted to the stage where 1 million people were sitting. It was amazing, a sea of people. The next thing I knew, a young Indian boy walked on the stage wearing a Krishna outfit. He was wearing a gold crown with jewels and a gold outfit. I was laughing and crying at the same time. Something inside of me knew I was home, that the experience I was looking for could be shown by this Indian boy. Being 18 years old, I was very practical that I wanted a direct experience of God inside of me. What this young Indian boy said made sense. He said, seeing is believing. If I told you an ant was 10 feet tall, would you believe me? But if I showed you, seeing is believing. He said, don't believe in my words. Take my experience. See for yourself. If it suits your practice, if not, go on your way. At this time of my life, this made sense. I have never heard someone saying, I can reveal who you really are. All my teachers in the past said believe, and maybe someday you will have that experience. Randy said, take that experience, practice it, and let the seed bloom into a fruit tree. The following day, I packed up my bags and took a train to Premnagar. Maraji's ashram is near Hardwar. It's a small town in the foothills of the Himalayas. The next 2 weeks I listened to discourses about this knowledge. Something inside of me knew that it was to receive the experience of a lifetime. I knew the door to my soul was to be opened. Words are hard to express the feeling that was going inside of my being. I knew that in a short time I'd be shown and would reveal the secret of life itself. I knew this experience was real. I talked to a lot of people who had the experience. I could tell and sense that something wonderful was going on. I liked the idea that the proof is in the pudding. I didn't want to join a cult or religious group. I just wanted a direct and continuous experience of the power that's keeping me alive. I knew through practice this could be achieved. During this time, the war between India and Pakistan was going on. Each night there were air raid sirens going on, and off in the distance we could hear bombs going off. There was a general blackout at night. Pakistani bombers were only miles away. Air raid sirens were heard in the distance. At the ashram, the whole place was so serene, while this part of the world, people were dying. Trains of Pakistanis were being massacred going from India to Pakistan, and trainloads of Indians were being massacred going from Pakistan into India. Such a dichotomy. I'll never forget my initiation. There were probably about 20 of us in a small room. Maraji had initiators who revealed his knowledge. We were in the room while Maraji was playing on top of the roof directly overhead of us. This experience that I had that day still sends shivers of joy, just merely the thought. The first technique the initiator revealed was the light technique. I always knew that the human being had the ability to see the light inside. This is an actual experience. When the initiator touched my forehead, I felt this incredible surge of energy. I knew at that point that something incredible was going to happen. My whole body and soul sensed it. My consciousness completely left its physical existence. A golden circle of light appeared. Inside of this circle, a brilliant blue star appeared. This golden circle of light and this blue star was so beautiful. It's probably the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Waves of love, joy, and peace were surging inside my consciousness. All of a sudden, the star transferred into a ray, a tunnel of blue light which went on for infinity. I merged with the blue ray. It's very hard to describe this experience. I was at home. The doors were open. I was given the keys, and it was up to me to cultivate that experience. I have definite proof that we are more than these bodies. All of a sudden, the mystery of life was revealed. I knew the secrets behind our religion. There was a genuine experience that could be shown and experienced. Years later, I realized that this experience was initiation into Lord's Michael Blue Ray. It was the Jacob's Ladder. This experience was the ladder to God. To this day, I'll never forget this experience. It gave me practical proof that God exists. I knew it, but this was a practical experience. It was more real than any outside human experience. I knew my life was on track. I waited years to go home. I was shown such a glorious place. When I returned to this body and regained physical consciousness, my whole body was shaking like a dot. My body had a hard time. Can you imagine being hooked up to the power plant of the whole universe? I knew no damage was done. Over time, I knew that the body was built and designed to handle these kinds of currents. Day by day, through meditation, man can slowly harmonize with these frequencies and begin to vibrate at this frequency. There were 3 other techniques that were revealed. One was the music technique. I was shown how to listen to the innermost frequencies of life. Since God is energy, man has the capability to be in tune and listen to subtle yet energy frequencies. Different religions have different concepts about this experience. By listening to this music over time, man is filled with such a joy and peace in his life. The mind slowly begins to slow down. In this state, man gets in contact with an energy frequency that is infinite. This energy is pure love and bliss. The whole universe is comprised of this energy. It was, is, and will always be. This is the Word of God. Every major religion talks about the Word in some form or another. This is a very simple technique where man can be in direct communication with the subtle energy. When a person first receives this initiation, the Word is very subtle. The majority of people really don't understand the power of this Word. I know a lot of people who took this experience and never really tried it out. Over time, I can consciously put myself in direct communication with this Word. My whole being is instantly filled with such a wave of love and bliss. I'm out there 24 hours a day, but I know it's possible. I have had experiences that I was completely taken out of this physical world and taken into a place where there's no time and space. The only thing existed was this incredible energy of love. I know I was at home with my Father. This energy exists throughout all creation. It exists in the manifest and unmanifest. It exists throughout time and space and beyond. All of creation came from this Word. In the Bible in St. John, the verse goes like this: "In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God." Human beings have the capability to tune into this experience. The last experience was one of the living waters or nectar experience. When man is in this experience, powerful hormones and enzymes are secreted through the endocrine system. Through the ages, man has learned that he has a capability to actually experience this nectar or living water. Just one drop of this is an incredible, powerful experience. One drop has the capability to take man's consciousness into a definite altered state. This fluid is very cleansing to the body. When Christ was in the desert for 40 days and nights, he lived off this manna. This experience is energy in its subtle form. It is energy, yet it transmutes itself into matter. This experience is very powerful to the endocrine system. I've had numerous experiences of this nectar. It's probably the most intoxicating drug known in the universe. Unlike a drug which has side effects, this experience is completely beneficial to the body and soul. These experiences reveal over time who we truly are. We are more than our mind or body. We are in fact the source of life. Each one of us are part of this universal consciousness. We just don't remember it. It's amazing when we were born, we came from the source. Our whole body was this consciousness. Over time, we forgot. Years later, we have completely forgotten of our true existence. After the initiation, I thank my Creator for revealing Himself to me. My dreams come true. I had the tools. Everything made sense to me. I could read the scriptures and understand the hidden meaning. The scriptures were at the same wavelength. I had a lot of respect for the major religions. The following day, I was sitting by the Ganges meditating when I completely lost consciousness of this planet. I saw a light more brilliant than the noonday sun. My consciousness was flowing into a river of nectar. I felt the whole Ganges River was flowing through me. Maraji had a beautiful poem by Rumi, a great Sufi teacher, that sums it up. It goes like this. There is a palace in the sky without any foundation. A blind man sees a light more brilliant than a million suns. A deaf man listens to the unstruck music. A lame man climbs up a well and drinks the nectar and becomes totally intoxicated. The quencher is only a wise man understands what I'm talking about. From then on, my life was to change drastically. After my initiation and this experience, my life was never the same. I was shown something so incredible that my focus was on this experience. My whole life from then on was based upon practically cultivating this experience. Day by day, I was going deeper and deeper into my existence. My days in India were spent in meditation and spending time with Maraji. Meditation was such an incredible experience. I call it going to the movies. Day by day, I was going deeper and deeper into realms I'd never been before. Prabhnagar was such a beautiful place. I was thousands of miles away from home, and then again, I was truly at home. I was content and full of such an incredible bliss. My mind was learning to focus on something inside of me that never changes, that was and will always be. I was learning how to be connected to that experience 24 hours a day. I practiced meditation like how I surf with joy and the thrill of riding the waves of life. To this day, I'm still blown away that this experience is lying dormant inside of humanity, just waiting to be discovered. We are searching for the jewel, and the jewel is hidden inside of each one of us. Over time, it's not all bliss and roses with the experience. I had to face my mind. The mind is such a powerful thing. It can be your friend or enemy. I learned over time to become its friend. In the beginning, at times, I thought I would go crazy. The mind was constantly chattering. I would sit for hours, and at times I wanted to get up and just forget the whole thing. But then I would break through. Then that experience would rush in and completely saturate your being, your bliss. I felt that I had to break down the door. Over time, I walked through the door, and my mind hasn't bothered me in this way since. I'm not saying my mind doesn't bother me. At times it does. But when I close my eyes or put my connection on this Word of God, my whole being is filled with bliss. In the beginning, it took tremendous effort to have this kind of experience. In the beginning, you meditate on the experience. Years later, that experience meditates on you. I remember that a few days before Christmas, the whole ashram took a train ride from Hardwar to Patna, a city in Bihar, India. Bihar is one of the far states in India. The scenery was beautiful. We were traveling on this old, funky Indian train. We could see swamps that were full of lotus flowers. Wildlife was everywhere. Raj was having a 3-day program. I remember at the festival there was probably 1 million people there. At one point in the festival, the Arya Samaj attacked the festival. I'm not sure how many people died. The group caused a lot of trouble in India. It was kind of scary to sit on stage watching fighting only a half mile away. India was quite a different place. The people were quite friendly. They liked Westerners. The Indian people in general had a strong conviction for God. Before leaving to Bihar, my friend Peter left to go back to America. I loaned him the money, which I got back in South Africa. The Westerners left in January. There were only a few of us left. I spent my remaining time in Delhi. I remember I would meditate and go into town. The Indian food was great. I bumped into the son of James Arness. His father was a famous actor in Hollywood. He played in Gunsmoke on TV. He had a son, Ralph, at the time, who was a world champion surfer. It was quite funny meeting him. I was buying a kilo of cashews for $1. I just started talking to him. During this time, Maraji was planning to go to South Africa. He needed a few Westerners to go and help set up the necessary arrangement. Somehow, Maraji's mother asked me to go. So in early February, we embarked to Bombay. We took a train from Delhi to Bombay. Rajiv was in Bombay for a week. Upon reaching the train station, I realized that I lost the directions to the ashram. I just laughed and knew that everything would be all right. I was traveling with 3 Western girls. I said, "Let's go hop in a taxi." We got in a taxi and the driver said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "We will direct you." Bombay is a huge city. None of us had ever been there, and he couldn't believe it. But he did as he was told. I closed my eyes and received directions on where to go, left, right, etc. After about 45 minutes of driving, I told the driver to stop. We got out of the car, knocked on the door, and walked right into the ashram. I never told Raji how we got there. It was just a matter of fact. When I lived in Miami Beach, I read an article in Omni magazine about the Monroe Institute. Robert Monroe was a radio engineer in the late 50s. One day he was sleeping, he felt himself drifting outside of his body. He thought he was dying. He had this experience recurring every month or so. Finally, he went to the doctor. He was concerned that he was going crazy or he had some major illness. Robert told the doctor what was happening, and the doctor told him that maybe he was having an out-of-body experience. He recommended some books to read on the subject. Robert Monroe learned that his experiences were about the same as his. Maybe he wasn't so crazy after all. The experience kept on coming. Being a radio engineer, he thought, can I produce this experience by using sound waves? After years of research, he learned to utilize sound waves. He came up with a system which uses sound waves to trigger the right and left hemisphere synchronization of the brain. This technique can be modified for learning, health, exploring, etc. The Omni article said he had a week-long course in the foothills of Virginia. I was fascinated by this article, called the office, and found out there was an opening for the course. This course is called Gateways. I arrived at the site of the course and was captivated by the beauty of the place. The site was in the mountains. There were a few houses in the property. The foundation owned a good chunk of land. We were oriented on days of what to be. They took away our watches, so we had no idea what time it was. This is no ordinary course. Most courses I know are a lecture. This course was based upon experience. At the Institute, our actual living quarters was our laboratory. Each bed had its own individual unit. There were headphones with a microphone, which I'll tell about later. There was a curtain which closed off the bed so no light could come in. Each unit was totally self-contained. At the first meeting, they told us a schedule. We would get up in the morning, shower, and then play a series of tapes. After each tape, we would go to a conference room and talk about our experience. We would do this throughout the day. We would have lunch and breaks throughout the day. Day 1 started. We learned about Focus 10. The step was about how to put your body asleep at the same time keep our mind awake. The tapes were incredibly produced. We put on these headphones, lie down on our bed, and have these incredible experiences. Day after day, the experiences would build on each other. I remember some experience being completely taken out of my body and being bathed in light. There were talks with angels. I call the Monroe Institute the Disneyland of spirituality. It was amazing to go to a place and see modern scientific equipment being used for self-discovery. So many of these tapes were for our own self-discovery. I remember in some tapes I could hardly walk afterwards. I was quite shy and didn't talk too much about my experiences. I would recommend this program to anybody. During our course, we had a doctor, minister, computer programmers, housewives, and people from all walks of life. It was definitely worth it. Robert Monroe is definitely an amazing man. He's definitely on the cutting edge of technology.
Just breathe. I have an expression that goes like this. What you want, you don't need. What you need, you don't want. When it comes to things we need, we are lethargic. We have a great lack of energy and so many other sorts of excuses. Yet, when it comes to what we want, we have boundless energy to party. Look, I'm not against partying and waking up with a hangover every Saturday. It was not my cup of tea. In our society, most of the time, we eat foods that we want, not what we need. Consequently, we are one of the sickest nations in the world. Pre-diabetic and diabetes are on the rise. Over 80% of the population is one of these two categories. Most of them don't even know it. I've been into preventative medicine for many years. Yet this year, I found myself in this category. They had to amputate my left pinky toe because of this. Mind you, I was eating a good diet. My foods were organic. Despite this, I lost my left pinky toe. I find that ironic. Since then, I have fine-tuned my guitar. I'm now at the same weight I was since high school. My glucose levels have gone down to normal levels. My blood pressure has gone down to normal levels. I feel 20 years younger, despite the operation. In the last chapter, I talked about how the majority of the world does not breathe properly. I find that simply ironic. It seems like we have lost touch with our true nature. Everything we do is in a state of disarray. It's a miracle that we are alive. Scientists say 95% of our actions come from the subconscious mind. That means only 5% is coming from our consciousness. It seems we play the same tapes over and over again. No wonder we don't change for the better. For over 5,000 years, the East has been walking the path of self-discovery. They have tried to be in harmony with the world and the universe. Even back then, with this incredible knowledge, the majority of people went along their merry ways. They didn't want to change their lifestyle. Today, we have so much wisdom available. Unfortunately, we are also on information overload. We receive more information in one day than the average person did 100 years ago or 10 years. We simply just skim the surface. We listen to the tidbits of information and call it wisdom. We don't know how to ponder and think about the things that matter. We're more interested in texting on the freeway of life. We don't want to think about how we can improve our lives. It's too much of a hassle. Yet, we are digging our own graves in the process. Science has made leaps and bounds in discovering our true nature. Yet, even despite this, modern-day science is still living 50 years behind the times. There are many progressive scientists, yet they are being stepped on by those who are in charge. Galileo learned this the hard way. Many moons ago, he was a man ahead of his times. He lived most of his life under house arrest. He defied the Catholic Church and the Pope. Fortunately, they didn't kill him, but he never was set free. The same times are here. The world is full of innovative and creative thinkers. Those in charge don't want to hear from them or see their works in the light of day. What does it take for you to change for the better? Most people needed a health crisis to wake them up. Unfortunately, that is the case for many. Even when you think you are living in harmony, nature will show you areas where you're not. I was in this category. I don't see this as a failure. I see this as fine-tuning the guitar of life. We learn through our mistakes. I haven't met anyone who has never made mistakes. I've been a software engineer for over 35 years. Mistakes and bugs are part of the process. You need mistakes to create a software program. Mistakes are part and parcel of the process in life. Even nature morphs and changes for the better. Everything is a learning experience. Can you imagine if the world could learn from its mistakes? We make the same mistakes over and over again. For centuries we make the same mistakes. We never learn from them. We can change that if we want. It involves every single one of us. You are a piece of the precious puzzle of life. You are an intricate piece of the puzzle. Without your piece, the puzzle cannot be complete. This is how significant you are. Yes, change is never easy, but you are changing for the better. You are going from darkness to light. Darkness does not like the light. It's too bright. Maybe books like these will teach you to use sunglasses so the light isn't too bright. When you get used to the light with sunglasses, you can slowly take them off. Mind you, this process will go on for eternity. You can never rest on your laurels.
Young Galileo, pointing his telescope towards the stars. What was in his young mind? He went against the concepts of his time. During this age, scientists in the church believed that the sun and the planets revolved around the earth. Galileo and some scientists before, such as Copernicus, believed the earth and the planets revolved around the sun. Galileo was the first scientist to use the telescope to prove his theory. Yet, why does man hold on so tightly to his ideas and beliefs? The Catholic Church and the Pope himself couldn't believe Galileo. They said he was a heretic. How dare you challenge this idea that the sun and the planets revolve around the earth? Who do you think you are? Imagine being tried by the Inquisition. They found him guilty and placed him under house arrest. Fortunately, they didn't kill him. Yet, he spent the rest of his life in house arrest. Today, Galileo is known as the father of the following: father of observatory astronomy, father of modern physics, father of the scientific method, father of science. All I can say is, wow. Imagine Galileo also studied and mastered the following: astronomy, physics, engineer, philosophy, mathematician. He was, in my eyes, a genius. He was way ahead of his time. Isn't it amazing we don't want man to challenge our way of thinking? Man at times loves living in the box. It's a comfort zone. You don't want to learn anything new or be challenged. If someone has something to say that is different, we get angry. How many innocent people got killed in the Inquisition? To be honest, I probably would have died back then from what I'm saying today. Just think, Christ died on the cross. Yet the Inquisition killed millions of people who believed in Christ in a different way. What do you think Christ would say? He would shake his head and probably have tears of compassion flowing from his eyes. Look, this adventure of life is all about discovering the mysteries of life. We should be grateful when we meet someone who has a different idea or concept of life. I was fortunate to be brought up in a household that accepted all ideas in life. Till today, I still love to hear life stories from people all around the world. Imagine, today we have telescopes scattered throughout the universe. We are looking for the mysteries of life.
The owner's manual. Sometimes I think we take care of our cars 100 times better than we take care of ourselves. With cars, we have an owner's manual. We do our oil checkups, tune-ups, rotate tires, and all sorts of different kinds of maintenance. When it comes to our human body, mind, and soul, anything goes. We don't even have an owner's manual. That was thrown out the door a long time ago. Who needs an owner's manual? We can just wing it. We wonder why. The world at large and within is chaotic. The Jains and the ancient yogis developed a sophisticated user's manuals thousands of years ago. This user manual is a roadmap to discover your true nature. It was also a very practical manual on how to live in harmony with nature and the universe. It contains great wisdom. We are living in the dark ages. You may roll your eyes, yet look at all the chaos around you. Is that a heavenly state of mind? The wise men of the past provided a roadmap and a user's manual. It was not just some dogma or belief. It is common sense, which is very uncommon. For the majority of mankind, the owner's manual sits inside the glove compartment of your precious auto. Unfortunately, the car is locked and covered with dust. The garage door is also closed. Not a very good predicament if you want to drive your car on the freeway of life. Many people don't even realize that a car exists inside of them. How could the entire universe exist inside of me? Knowledge is the experience of realizing that there is a car that exists inside of me. Not only that, but one can open the garage door. One can unlock the door of the car. Upon opening the door of the car, one climbs in and puts on the seatbelt and starts the ignition. It may be a good idea to dust off the cobwebs. The car hasn't been driven in a long time. At some point in time, you may want to back out the car from the garage, slowly back out the car into the street. Remember, you are not alone. God is your passenger. He will not drive the car for you. You must drive the car yourself. But He is there, nevertheless, in the passenger seat. He will help you on the sacred journey. At times, you will see Him and feel Him. At times, you won't even have a clue that He is sitting there. That's okay. Remember, we are going from darkness to light. There's a process to this. There are owner's manuals that have been written for thousands of years. It might be a good idea to read them. The main thing is, whatever owner's manual you read, put it into practice in your daily life. That is the difference between reading and putting it into practice daily. By doing so, one understands that each one of us has a custom built car. We can't try to have your car be like my car. They are all custom designed. Our problems stem from the fact that we want all the cars on the road to be just like our car. Countless wars have been fought due to this. We have even seen this recently in our Supreme Court. Decisions have been made that put us back over 50 years. So, my advice is simply read your own owner's manual and put it into practice in your daily life. Pretty simple. 8, 8 limbs on the tree of life. This journey of self-discovery is infinite. It's like peeling an onion. There are infinite layers to this onion. A person can never clap your hands and say, I've mastered it all. Our whole sense of understanding the world around us has to change. The journey is going from a reactive state to a proactive state, going from the hurricane state of the mind to absolute silence. This takes time and patience. You see, darkness is the flip side of the coin of light. You can walk into a room when it's dark, flip on the switch, and the lights will turn on. In the same manner, you can walk into a room where there is light and then turn off the lights, and darkness will occur. Darkness is simply the absence of light. In both examples, you decide whether darkness or light will manifest in the room. The same game goes for your life. Most of us are unconscious, therefore, we don't make proper decisions. We live on automatic pilot, so we have our ups and downs in life. Nothing is stable. We spend our lives not wanting to change, even if it means for us to have miserable lives. We don't know that we can climb out the hole that we have dug. This is the state of mind today. We don't ask questions about life. Even during the shutdown, when Mother Nature is sending us to our rooms, we aren't asking questions like why. We are so busy and bored to get back to our everyday life. The 8 limbs represents the tree of life and how we can be in harmony with it. Over time, one discovers it is a scientist, psychological, dreamer, mystic, lover, and practical. One learns to have the feet on the ground and your head in heaven. Patanjali set out the definition of yoga in the Yoga Sutras as having 8 limbs. The 8 limbs of yoga are abstinence, observance, yoga postures, breath control, withdrawal of the senses, concentration, meditation, and samadhi.
How do I meditate? There are so many different versions out there. Which one do I choose? Will I pick up the right one? Let's start with the foundation. You are breathing, yes? What is the power behind your breath? I don't know. Focus on your breath in each and every moment. When you wander, bring your attention back to your breath. Do this for the rest of your life. This is one way to go inside. Remember, the kingdom of heaven lies within. This is the way to open the door inside of your heart.
Consciousness. When I was young, I probably wouldn't believe that I would someday talk about consciousness. It wasn't even in my train of thought. It sounded so intellectual and technical. Brilliant research scientists studied consciousness. They all had brilliant minds. Yet take a look at a newborn baby. Wow, that is consciousness. No words need to be spoken. The parents are in absolute awe. A miracle is born, and it's alive. Now that's consciousness manifested into a human form. Nothing is grander than that. But somewhere along the way, the baby slowly loses its innocence. It takes in the good, bad, and ugly. It stores all of this into the subconscious just like a hard drive. The operating system, hardware and software, slowly changes over time. While the child is 10 years old, the subconscious runs around 95% of the show. Yet, we are never aware of it. How sad that is. We have lost touch with our true nature. We are asleep driving on the freeway of life. Yet this external dream will soon fade away like a thief into the night. We check into this motel of life, and the next day we check out. Our life seems like an eternity, yet it's just a flicker in time. Our current workforce is driven by so much stress. The bottom line is profits are saving money to the workers' expense. Common sense is uncommon. The owners don't see you as an individual. You are just a number. Jeff Bezos is worth over $201 billion. Just think with that money, every citizen in Canada would have $5,583,033. You could buy 6,700,000 cars at $30,000 each, or 1,500,000 houses at $200,000 each. If you could save $100,000 a year, it would take you 2 million 10,000 years to save $201 billion. We need to take care of our fellow man.
Does the universe stop and pay attention to us? Or do we stop and pay attention to the universe? Does the universe help us on our journey of life? Can the universe be our coach in teaching us about the mysteries of life? Is it true, the more you pay attention to the universe, you will see signposts everywhere? Is the universe gently showing us the way? Look over in this direction. Is life like a video game where you go from one level to another level? Does life throw curveballs so you can ultimately hit a home run out of the park? When we strike out, do we think we failed, or do we see the opportunity to learn and grow? Recently, when I meditate, I have a sense of being coached. For the past month or so, on a daily basis, when I dream and wander, and I'm at a point when I'm in the dream, all of a sudden I get pulled from the dream and back into the light. I feel the universe is saying, everything comes from light. I read the autobiography of a yogi many moons ago. One of my favorite passages is when he describes going to a movie theater. The entire audience is totally captivated by the movie. It becomes real. Yet how many people turn around and realize that a projector is streaming light upon the screen? The wise masters have been talking about this for eons. How do we tune the guitar of life? Has the entire universe always been inside of us and we haven't been aware? Does the perfect wave exist inside of us? These are exciting times for us. In the midst of Trump and politics, the universe is beckoning us to discover our true nature. We are the universe and just don't know it. Our civilization is quite young, probably less than 200,000 years. Most scientists say probably less than 34,000 years. I'll tack on a few years. Yet imagine there are probably civilizations that are over 5 billion years old. Imagine they reached a point in evolution where they had a choice to blow themselves up or evolve to a state where they became the universe. War becomes obsolete. The universe is kind. The universe is supreme love. The universe is compassion. The universe is aware. Is the human body hardwired for the experience? Are we created in God's image? Quite frankly, I believe the universe is always evolving. Can you imagine the joy of the universe when an entire civilization becomes the universe? Granted, it takes a long time. Some say 1,000,000 years. But if you are never created or never destroyed, what is 1,000,000 years? A blink of an eye. Are we here on earth as individuals to grow and evolve? Have the great teachers in the past been representatives of the universe to show us the way? They can coach us on the sidelines, but remember, only you can play the game. What will cause humankind to wake up from our slumber and discover we are the universe?
Breathing through your mouth.
I was in India many moons ago, over 47 years. I remember hearing people talk about the various kinds of breaths. In our Vedic lore, breathing through your mouth is the kiss of death. Our breath is a complicated system. Scientists are just beginning to study the effects of breathing. They have found out when a person starts to breathe through the mouth, the fight or flight syndrome takes over. What does that mean? It means your body is being flooded with over 1,500 different chemicals. Many of these in a short term is beneficial. Yet, for many Americans, the faucet can't be shut off. Reinforce the situation by improper breathing. In the East, this has been known for thousands of years. This is why the foundation for so many meditation practices is the breath. They understand the practical mechanics of breathing through the nose. There's life force within that is keeping you and the universe alive. Our Western day understanding for the general public is lacking. I say common sense is uncommon because our lifestyles don't reflect it. We are totally off balance. No wonder we have all our ailments today. Ponder this over.
Many moons ago, I read in a magazine something which I haven't forgotten. The magazine was interviewing a scientist. They were talking about the expansion and contraction of the universe. The interviewer said, "So it's just like breathing?" The scientist said, "Absolutely." As you can see, I never forgot this. This is around 1972. I have been fascinated by the power of breath most of my life. Before I started to learn how to meditate, I knew there was an incredible experience inside. I knew there was a power behind my breath, keeping me alive. Yet I didn't know how to sync with it. It was a total mystery. Most of us just breathe unconsciously. We never think about it or pay attention to it. Unfortunately, we don't experience the direct source inside of us. Whenever I tell people that the most simple technique in meditation is the following: just watch your breath go up and down. Follow your breath. At this point in time, you can see their eyes roll up. Yeah, don't feed me that crap. That's too simple. Yet, it is simple. The truth is so simple and obvious that we overlook it. We expect some complicated technique or only a powerful guru can give it to you. Yet, the truth is simple. The Buddhists have a doctrine called crystal clear. This book was introduced to the West only decades ago. They released this secret doctrine because they knew, unfortunately, Westerners wouldn't believe it. It was all about the breath. Why is it in the East they have studied the breath for thousands of years? They have mapped out the various stages of enlightenment through the breath. Yet in the West, we just roll our eyes. Doesn't that make you ponder for a moment? Have you ever stopped for a moment and pondered what is keeping you alive? Imagine when you are born and you take your first breath, you become alive. Now imagine when you take your last breath, you die. What exactly left your body? Your body is dead. Some incredible life force left your body. Now imagine that day by day, you focus on your breath. In the beginning, it takes time and effort. You meditate on the source. Over time, You begin to realize that the source meditates on you. What once took hours to connect to, now, when you close your eyes, the experience is there. Words cannot describe this experience. Christ said, "The kingdom of heaven lies within." Only you can take this advice. Only you can solve this mystery. The entire universe exists inside of you. You just don't know it. Where would I be without meditation? Many people ask me, why do you meditate? That's a great question. I've been meditating for many moons. I started when I was 18 years old. Meditation is the glue which binds all life. Meditation is the thread which ties us all together. Meditation is the means to listen to God. I first started to meditate for myself. Over time, it morphed into I meditate for the planet. We are all candles in the wind. Meditation places the precious candle inside of a glass lantern. The wind can't blow the candle out. I've learned the mind can be your friend or foe. In the beginning, I never knew how powerful the mind is. It takes years to train the mind. The majority of people on this planet have no idea who's in control of their life. Many of my friends were astonished when they first started to sit down and meditate. They had no idea how powerful the mind is. In the beginning, you meditated and got connected to the source. Years later, the source connects to you. When you close your eyes, God is there. He's been there all the time. You are never alone. This is why I meditate.
Always on inside of you. What is always on inside of you? I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, for one thing, the wise men of old have said there's a place inside where the light is always turned on. Even in your darkest moments, this light exists. Then why don't I see it inside myself? That is a good question. That is the starting point to answer your question. Without asking that question, how can you get an answer? This light has always been there, but have you been there? You are breathing 24 hours a day, yet are you aware of the power behind your breath? I say quite frankly, the more you pay attention to something, the more attention it pays to you. Signposts are all around you, yet do we have the eyes to see? This may seem like a riddle, which it is. My theory, and the theory of many before me, have said this is the goal of human life. The light is always on inside of you. The light brings wisdom and clarity. Darkness is the absence of light. No wonder the mind is in turmoil. We don't know our true nature, yet we truly think we have all the answers. Don't tell me what to do. There's no light inside of me. I've been alive for more than 60 years, and I've never seen this light that you are talking about. When a newborn baby smiles, that smile is a reflection of the light within. It's like the sun radiating its rays. A newborn baby doesn't have to say anything. It just smiles. Maybe, just maybe, we should learn to rediscover our true nature.
Wow, the end of your journey is about to end. You're about to take your last breath. This was an incredible journey you had. Another journey is about to be embarked on. You see, your body dies, but your essence is eternal. You are about to become one with the universe. You are about to become one with God. This is your true nature. You are like a raindrop returning to the ocean. The raindrop merges into the ocean. You merge with God. You come into this world from God. Slowly over time, you forget your true nature. Upon death, you go back to the source. All the great masters have said, discover the essence behind your breath. Something is keeping you alive. Your breath is ever so precious. Don't take it for granted. Your breath is a gift from God. The more you become aware of your breath, the vast mysteries of life will be revealed. Your true nature is kindness. Your true nature is love and compassion. Your true nature is patience and tolerance. You are the universe. You just don't know it. The greatest treasures lie inside of us. We have a tendency to think that happiness lies outside of ourselves. It never has and never will. That precious car you always wanted will soon be a headache. At first it's like, wow, I always wanted this. The first few weeks the car brings you so much happiness. You show it off to your friends and take them for a spin in your new car. Unfortunately, after a period of time, the thrill is gone. B.B. King even wrote a song about this. Many people think that if these gifts are truly there, why don't I know it? Well, there is a mind within. Yes. There are diamonds within. Yes. How do you dig for diamonds? You need a shovel and a pick. To answer this riddle in life, you need to learn how to dig the jewel inside of you. That's what all these sayings are for. The miracle of life lies behind your breath. Follow your breath moment to moment. This is where your incredible journey begins.
Occam's razor. Occam's razor is a principle from philosophy. Suppose there exist two explanations for an occurrence. The more assumptions you have to make, the more unlikely an explanation. We all live in a cosmic soup. Every quantum scientist knows that. Yet, why don't we perceive that? Wise men have been talking about that for thousands of years. They didn't use the word quantum. Behind your breath lies the answer. It's as simple as that. We make it so complicated. In the silence, one can perceive the ocean of life. Daily, close your eyes. You will solve this riddle of life.
Different perspectives. The following chapters are different perspectives on the web of life. There's a web of love tying us all together. All the major religions in the world are talking about the same thing. There are many different roads, yet the end is the same. I have studied the major religions, not based on a philosophical or theoretical point of view. I'm like the mystic discovering the same jewel that lies within all. People have different names for that jewel. It doesn't matter what you call it. The jewel exists inside of you. I hope you will enjoy these chapters. They might inspire you or show you a different perspective on life. Many of these points of view will be entirely different from your belief system. It's not bad to try and think outside of the box. It's not bad to challenge yourself with new ideas. We all need to stretch ourselves and see different sides of the coin. Life has many sides to the coin, yet the coin exists no matter how many sides you say it has. Our understanding of the universe at this present moment is so superficial. Maybe it will always be superficial. We're making incredible progress in the meantime. The James L. Webb telescope, it's bringing us images from the past over 15 billion years ago. We are living in such exciting times.
Intro. The kingdom of heaven lies inside of you. You maybe have been taught that the pearly gates exist in the clouds somewhere, and God is ruling from his throne. Luke 17:20-21. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees when the kingdom of God should come,
He answered them and said, The kingdom of God cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, Lo here, or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Let's take a look at Christ's last years and the significance of them. Just think, many of the world's religions consider Christ as one of the greatest mystics. Mystic. Now, a person who seeks by contemplation and self-surrender to attain unity with or absorption into the deity or the absolute, or who believes in the spiritual apprehension of truths that are beyond the intellect. Have the teachings of Christianity been watering down? Considering the following. Matthew 6:22. In the King James Version of the Bible, the text reads, The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thy eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. The World English Bible translates the passage as, The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is sound, your whole body will be full of light. Talk to any mystic, and they will say, This is divine light, the self-effulgent light. This is our true nature. All mystics know about the third eye, which is the pineal gland. Joe Dispenza received his doctorate of chiropractic degree from Life University in Atlanta, Georgia, graduating magna cum laude. His postgraduate education has been in neurology, neuroscience, brain function and chemistry, cellular biology, memory formation, and aging and longevity. Joe was both a scientist and a mystic. My suggestion is to think outside of the box. Many people think Christopher Columbus was crazy when he said the world is rough. People got quite angry when he said it. Let's go on an incredible journey. You are the universe. You just don't know it.
Intro. I have always been fascinated by the East. As a young child, my parents had a statue of the Buddha and a painting of Kuan Yin. Sitting on my bookshelf lies a copy of the Tao Te Ching. It has been sitting there for many moons. Mind you, many of you probably weren't born. It's been that long. My favorite part is the opening. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of the 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one sees the manifestation. These two spring from the same source, but differ in name. This appears as darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. Whenever I read this, it sends shivers down my spine. How eloquently said. This was written by Lao Tzu about 300 BC. I love good mysteries. My brother and I are extremely curious. Ever since I was a kid, I actively pursued the great mysteries. About 6 months ago, I started to do a Qigong practice. I love it. I've been practicing every day. Recently, with the worldwide shutdown, I had some time on my hands. In my morning meditations, I thought I would read the Tao Te Ching and absorb it. I find scriptures fascinating. There is a great mystery to be solved. Each sacred book talks about, in their own subtle ways, how to discover the jewel within. Lao Tzu was one of them. The most books ever sold except for the Bible was the Tao Te Ching. It was sitting on my bookshelf waiting patiently for me to open it up. The Tao is ever so patient. It took billions of years for man to appear on Earth. Modern day scientists and mystics are talking about the Tao using a different way of expressing it. Scientists call the Tao the quantum field. This field exists beyond time and space. It was, is, and will always be. It exists in all dimensions. Yet centuries before Christ, the sage, discovered the Tao, or the way. It wasn't a philosophy. They had first-hand experience of it. These teachings are more relevant today. The world is in chaos. The Tao Te Ching can help humanity to discover the jewel inside. Remember, you can talk about a mango, yet without trying a mango, it's just book knowledge. The Tao is a practical path. At times, I think humanity wants to give their offering once a week and call it quits. Maybe this worldwide shutdown will be an opening call. Only time will tell. There are 81 short quotes. I'm putting my commentary for each. I use the word ponder a lot in my writings. I'm pondering deep inside myself to understand this precious wisdom. I don't want to skim the surface. Anybody can do that. I want to discover the pearls of wisdom for each one. I hope you enjoy the book.
Intro. Come with me and let's explore the Aboriginal world of Dreamtime. I've been fascinated by the Aboriginals ever since I saw Peter's Weir movie, The Last Way, for the first time in my life. I heard the didgeridoo. When I first heard that sound, my soul was captivated. Words can't describe the feelings I experienced inside. It was a sound so eerie and yet so comforting. I knew this sound. This sound was a part of me. I got much of my material from the above YouTube video, Journey into the Dreamtime, with Auntie Manya Andrews. I was blown away, both by the incredible sophistication of their ancient wisdom. Come with me and let's learn on this journey together. Last week, I just finished my book, Conscious Economics. It was about how the world must change our ways to survive as a species. I talked about the concepts of the indigenous people around the world and modern-day Western concepts of commercialism. There was a difference between night and day. From my inner well floated up a thought to write a book on Aboriginal Dreamtime. To be quite honest, I had a superficial bunch of ideas. I was always just skimming the surface. I heard about Aboriginal people going on walkabout. The great movie Crocodile Dundee talked about Aboriginals going on a walkabout. Once again, it was just at a surface level. The Aborigines have a concept called profane knowledge. Profane knowledge is knowledge acquired in the external world. This includes the good, bad, and ugly. All external knowledge lies in this category. The five senses are fully engaged. The analogy for this is bark on the tree. The bark is external. Sacred knowledge exists inside of the tree. This is where true wisdom resides. The world at large is mainly focused on the external. Take a look at modern day politics in the United States. What is the truth is considered fiction. What is fiction is considered truth. The Aboriginals knew that the wood, the essence, exists inside of the tree. They have known this for over 100,000 years. They are the oldest existing society in the world. Their entire life is based upon acquiring inside wisdom. The entire universe is alive. The earth is alive. Recently, I read an incredible article that describes the nature of consciousness. It was talking about a term called panentheism. During the 1920s, Bertrand Russell came up with this term. It's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first, a human body and mind, or is there an awareness beyond that? Is the universe aware and conscious? Is there a cosmic quantum soup of consciousness? Does a rock or a flower aware? Does consciousness require a form? How big or how small can the form be to be aware? Is dark matter aware? Is the sun in the sky aware? What denotes awareness? Some people think, which I also do, that the foundation of the universe is consciousness. The entire universe is aware. Before the Big Bang, consciousness existed. This is not the first time a universe was created, nor will it be the last time. Like the incoming of breath and the outflow of breath, the universe comes and goes. Granted, it takes billions of years, but still, that is a blink of an eye for eternity. In this article, they describe that even particles are alive and aware. These are part of a cosmic soup where everything is tied together. The entire universe is comprised of this soup. Imagine making a homemade soup. You blend it all together and combine milk or cream. Your family loves it. Now, can you take out a single ingredient? You can't. In the same way, there is a universal soup of consciousness which we are a part of. It is quantum. It is beyond time and space. We always think linearly. In the quantum world, the past, present, and future are blended together. There is a whole set of chaotic laws that we can't even conceive. Man thinks by using logic they can understand the quantum soup, but it's beyond logic and rational thinking. Personally, I think the great mystics got a piece of the puzzle. Not the entire puzzle, but a piece of the puzzle contains the whole puzzle. It's like a hologram. A small piece contains the entire piece of the puzzle. What if a person who meditates can be in a place where they are receptive to the inner light inside? Imagine this light is the same light as the quantum universe. Everything is part of this light. E equals mc squared. Everything is energy and light. Everything is alive and aware. Our Aboriginals have discovered this fact over 100,000 years ago. This concept is still alive at their core belief systems. Many modern-day scientists believe in this theory. The Aboriginal people have discovered the tree inside many moons ago. It is not a concept, but a reality.
Intro. Welcome to my new book. This book will be a story within a story within a story. But first, take a look at the slideshow. This might give you an insight into the work I'm doing. I believe we are all on the same boat sailing home together. I take a look at beauty in all walks of life. Even the so-called weeds like the dandelions have incredible health benefits. I've been thinking for the last 2 years that I wanted to tackle the Muslim's point of view on life. My daughter is a devout Muslim. Her husband is from Egypt. They have 3 incredible children. I have seen the transformation of my daughter from a child to a beautiful adult and mom. It brings tears to my eyes. This journey in life is a combination of having your feet on the ground and your head in heaven. It's extremely practical. This is just the beginning of the story. This is the first step. Come with us on this journey. Each day, a new story will come alive. If you are in any way interested in Rumi, watch the story unfold. I can't say everything will be 100% accurate. Well, that wouldn't be a story, would it? The essence is how the story brings inspiration to you. This is what a story is truly about. The definition of inspiration is as follows. The process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. A sudden, brilliant, creative, or timely idea. This book came from my inner inspiration a week ago. I always wanted to hear more about the life of Rumi. Well, here goes. Author Rumi. If you've seen Star Trek, you will see how Spock can do a mind meld with another person. People think that it's science fiction, yet it is not. Your body is hardwired for this experience. The author quite frequently says that when you are born, you have the operating system, hardware, and software put into place. How elegantly said. Your scientists discovered the quantum field over a century ago. Imagine a field that is beyond time and space. It exists for eternity. Universes are created and destroyed. Behind the scenes, seen and unseen, lies the source of life. Just think your body is wired for this experience. You have unlimited potential. The universe is keeping you alive. The author uses that a lot. Anyway, anybody can tap into that. It's a great way to have a phone conversation with your loved ones on the other side. Sometimes the author has an uncanny ability to tap into a person who has died and received a message from them. Note, this is not like receiving words, but symbols and feelings. These come from the subconscious mind. Many people, when they hear about channeling, they say, it's just the subconscious mind. Well, exactly. That is precisely what it is. The subconscious mind is directly connected to the quantum soup or source of life. The subconscious mind governs over 95% of your actions. The intelligence and wisdom of the entire universe lie inside of your subconscious mind. Humankind's subconscious is united. Take a look at Carl Jung and his work. This will give you a better understanding. This is how the author communicates with me. It used to be common upon mankind. The indigenous people all around the world still have this capability today. The author just finished a book called Dreamtime, which talks about the aboriginal ways of melding heaven and earth in your everyday life. This will not be perfect. Both the author and I laugh at this. People will scoff at such ideas. People laughed at me when I was alive. You could say my life was outside of the box, but my poetry is still alive today. People are inspired to read and listening to it. In fact, it is more popular today than when I was alive. There are rumors that I'm the #1 poet in the world. If Allah says so, I'm just a humble servant. I don't need recognition. When one is united with Allah, it's all His glory. Anyway, come on this incredible storytelling journey. You will laugh and cry at the same time. This is just as much as your story. We are all united. Stop and think about your particular journey on this road of life. The author uses the word ponder quite frequently in his works. It was only in the last 10 years he used this. Pondering is a way to discover your essence. All great civilizations use this. So welcome. This is the first step. Let the storytelling begin.
Keys to life. Unlocking the laws of the universe. Practical, down-to-earth methods for a better life. This book is dedicated for all those whose lives have been spent in bringing peace to this planet. Wherever you are, we bow our heads. May peace be on this earth. We are all united with the thread of love. May each one of us realize the garland of life. Introduction. Allah, by definition in this book, is like guidelines or divine qualities that exist, that if you are in harmony with them, the quality of your life in all areas will improve. This life is a grand adventure. We are so fortunate and lucky to be alive. There is so much to be grateful for, regardless of our circumstances. We all possess inside of our very own essence the keys to life and the unfolding of its vast mysteries. Did you know that contained within your DNA, the knowledge and wisdom of the entire universe resides? Each of us is a unique gift from God. We are all so different, yet the essence is the same. This book will hopefully begin to unlock the great mysteries that lie within your very own essence. Your true essence is infinite love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, and happiness. These qualities are life or the building blocks of the entire universe in the seen and unseen worlds. Beyond all dimensions, beyond time and space, these divine qualities exist. You could say that love is the foundation of all life. Look at the diverse world we live in. Look at how incredible nature is. We don't just have one kind of apple, but there are literally thousands of different kinds of apples. Look at how diverse the planet is. It really is a gift from God. Behind all creation lies the power of life. Everything is alive. Everything is aware. Yet do we have the eyes to see this? Behind the power of life is the power of infinite love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, and happiness. These are just a few of the divine qualities that make up the universe, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Every little living thing in this world has these divine qualities. These qualities of infinite love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, and happiness are infused with life itself. The whole of creation is infused with these divine qualities. Look at the innocence of a newborn baby. The newborn directly reflects those qualities. Yet, unfortunately, as we grow older, we forget and lose these precious gifts of life. We get so preoccupied with our 9-to-5 existence that we forget about how incredible it is to be alive. We forget that our very own essence is infinite love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, and happiness. This is our true nature. It doesn't matter if you believe in God or not. Your essence is love. You are hardwired with love. Every single cell of your body is love. Love is the intelligence behind all life. Love is the power that creates the sun, the moon, and the stars. Love is the power that keeps you alive. These are not just some emotional qualities that man created. These are divine qualities that are infinite, beyond time and space, is, was, and will always be. These divine qualities are the building blocks and foundation for all life, for all creation. This is our true nature. In essence, we are infinite love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, and happiness. So the question is, where is it? Why have we forgotten our true nature? Where is our true happiness and love? Why is my life not going in the direction I hoped and dreamed for? These are questions to ask yourself. At times, we live our life at a totally unconscious level. We go through this life struggling and reacting to the winds of change that blow all around. We go around complaining about life, complaining how we have a bad deck of cards dealt to us. We are at times like the leaves blowing in the wind. In this state of mind, we are reactive beings. This has been man's path for thousands of years. Living in this condition, we have wars. Nations are separate, and we fight for our own existence. We can't see the common denominator, the thread of love tying us all together. Our relationships and the way we treat each other in this world is not much to be desired. We need to understand that there's another way to exist. There's another way to be and behave. This life we have is so incredible, yet we are merely skimming the surface. We live most of the time unconscious. We have forgotten that there is a diamond that lies within the vast ocean of love inside of your being. This diamond is your very own essence. It is life itself. It is keeping you alive. This is what all religions talk about. The kingdom of heaven lies within. The entire treasure chest of the whole universe is contained inside of your being. In fact, you are the universe. You will always be. You can never die. Your essence is the building blocks of all creations. You have simply forgotten. It is time to wake up from your nap. It's time to realize that you can change and that all you have to do is wake up to your incredible essence. You are already enlightened. You just simply aren't aware of it. Your nature is divine. You are good, but at times you don't always reflect it. This book is about discovering your true nature and taking over the reins of your life. You're meant to be a co-creator. You're designed to bring all of your divine qualities to life. You're meant to be a direct reflection of God. You are meant to be divine. In fact, this is what the word human means. Hu means divine. Man means mind. For the majority of mankind, we live only and are aware of our conscious mind. A true human lives and knows how to integrate the mind and heart together. There is no separation and distance between the two. A true human realizes that the unconscious mind is truly the main driver in life. Scientists have already realized that the unconscious mind is the force behind everything. It literally drives your life. Your external life is a reflection of your unconscious mind. In order to change anything, we must change your unconscious mind. Since the day you were born, you have begun to program your life. Every event and circumstance in your life, you have learned how to program. You have learned how to adapt. Yet over time, we have forgotten that we are the source code of life. We have forgotten that our subconscious mind is truly in charge and directs the outcomes in our life. We think that we truly can't have what we dream for. We think that we can't be truly in charge of our life and direct it what we truly desire. This is the state that we are in. We have forgotten that we hold the keys to life. We use these keys to unlock the doors within and discover that we can turn our life around. We can experience that the mysteries of life exist inside and our very own essence. In that state, we call empowerment. We are the sun, the moon, and the stars, and are walking around in a human body complaining about life. We have lost touch of who we are. This is your true nature. Can you imagine how incredible your life would be if you could truly discover your true essence? Your life would totally change. The world as we know it would change. Peace could be on this planet. This is not a fantasy. This is reality. Yet we have simply forgotten who we truly are. It doesn't matter if you are a saint or a sinner. The essence of your being is the same. This book is about rediscovering your true nature. It is absolute good. It is infinite love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, and happiness. These are not just words, but are like the sun's rays. Each day we experience the warmth of the sun. The rays of the sun bring life to this planet. If and when the sun dies, our planet won't be alive. The entire universe contains rays of infinite love, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, and happiness. These are the building blocks behind all life. Imagine that the sun in the sky contains these divine qualities. You also contain these same qualities. This is your true nature. Throughout the ages, people talked about how incredible you are, yet at times we haven't listened. We haven't seen how incredible our life could be if we could become one with all of life. Maybe we haven't even thought about it. Maybe we go to church on Sunday and pay our respects to God for 1 hour and leave it at that. Yet each one of us is truly divine in nature. I hope this book will help you to unlock the great mysteries within. I hope that you begin to unlock your own doors of existence. Nobody can unlock your doors, only you can. Yet we can provide inspiration and guidance for you. This is what life is all about. Once we have begun to open our inner doors, we love to help others open their doors. One realizes that giving is our true nature. It's like an apple tree. An apple tree does not hoard its fruit. It freely gives to all. This is its nature. This is our true nature. At times we are so preoccupied with our own existence that we have become self-centered and egotistical. We think that the whole universe revolves around us. This is how a human being, family, community, state, nation, and world can act. We have seen what unfortunate outcomes this has brought us. This book is about discovering another way. It's about discovering your true nature. It's about discovering how incredible and beautiful you are. You are a gift from God. How incredible will be the day when your life correctly reflects this. This book is about how to use these universal laws for your own personal growth and development. By understanding these laws and applying these laws, your life will be enhanced. These laws are universal, yet for most of us, we have forgotten them. Hopefully, this book will help you to wake up from your slumber and help you to recognize how precious you are. These laws aren't some kind of rigid code that you live by. Life is not rigid. Life is constantly changing and evolving. By being in tune with these laws, your life will change and you will see the beauty behind all. Each and every day is an opportunity to grow. These sacred laws encompass all areas of our life. By using them and being in harmony with them, you will see how incredible they truly are. The answers exist inside of you. This book, hopefully, will help you to be aware of these universal laws in your own life. By being aware and making small changes day in and day out, your seed will grow. This book was originally going to be something else. I started to think about what I was going to write about it morphed into something else. I had a flash inside that I realized that my book topic was to talk about the laws of the universe and how these laws can help us in our daily life. The more one practices these laws, the more one becomes truly free and is empowered with life itself. Our goal is to become fully aware of this incredible life force energy of love, which is keeping everything alive. All the tools exist inside of you. Your body is hardwired for this experience. Now's the time to take small baby steps day by day in your life. Each and every moment in your life is special. Your dreams can come true. You can learn about these laws and implement them in your daily life. No matter what situation you are in, nobody controls your mind. You will learn how to reprogram yourself for the better. These are exciting times. We truly live in a global village. The secret to life are being open to all. Each one of us has the opportunity to grow. The tools are there. Now we just need to use them. So I sincerely hope that this book will help you in your adventures in life. I hope that you can see that these laws can truly help you and will benefit you in all areas. The more you pay attention and the more aware you are, you will see tremendous changes. They are very subtle, yet over time you will look back and say, wow, I have come so far. The small baby steps that we take each and every day truly do carry us to our destination. So don't think this is a huge effort that you have to take. Be gentle on yourself. Have you ever dialed in to the source of your life? Have you felt like you had a conversation with your Creator? How would you like to phone your Creator? What would you say? From time immemorial, we have been hardwired for a direct connection to God. You don't even need an operator. God lives inside your heart. You are the temple of God. No temple on this planet is as magnificent as you are. The Creator hides inside of you. The phone has been ringing since you were born. Pick up the phone. There are no collect calls. This call is the most important of your life. Please tell Susie or John that I'll call you back. I've been waiting for this call all my life. Hello? Words cannot describe the joy inside. Direct communication to the heart. Your heart is filled with love. An apple falls from the tree. Truth lies within your heart. The secret of the universe exists inside. Open up the doors within, and you will discover who you truly are. The wise man says, ponder this over and over again. You will discover your true nature.
Tumo and Tantra. Over 40 years ago, I heard about this ancient practice. There would be stories with pictures of Buddhists sitting in the snow with wet sheets around them, and they would completely dry them off. The first thing that came to my mind was, why not just use a dryer? It would take no more than 30 minutes to dry. There are an infinite amount of powers that one can acquire along the way. I thought, how would it be if they used the power of compassion to do this? Years later, after listening to Lama Glenn, I understood that the foundation of Tumo is compassion. In fact, to have evolved as human beings, compassion is the essence. Lama Glenn explained in his 2-hour seminar many things that helped me refine my understanding of Tibetan Buddhism. My vision and understanding were greatly magnified. I look back at how my life has been in sync with the Buddha. Our house is like a Buddhist temple. We have Buddhist statues, Kuan Yin statues scattered throughout the house. My spiritual practice follows the ancient guidelines that Buddha taught about. Lama Glenn helped me to understand the experiences I have had for the past 50 years and translate them into the Buddhist understanding. Mind you, this is only by listening to a 2-hour seminar. Lama Glenn is going to present a 16-week course on this subject. I already got my money's worth just by his YouTube seminar. According to Milarepa, Tumo is the basic for the 6 yogas. The 6 yogas are Tumo, illusionary body, clear light, dream yoga, Bardo yoga, and Pova. The Buddhists have a book called Crystal Clear. I read this book around 2001. Crystal clear is a state of utter formlessness. It is how to bring infinite radiance, stillness, and formlessness into everyday life. My understanding of crystal clear is probably the merging of Buddhist thought and the current understanding of the quantum field. Both are talking about the same thing. Read some of my books, and you will see this theme presented in many ways. Lama Glenn said that the human experiences the essence of Tantra in three ways naturally. Every night when we go to sleep, one who is aware can capture a snapshot of the clear primordial mind. Making love is another way. The orgasm can lead to clear light radiance if one is aware. Meditation is another way. All three can be awakened within oneself. When one is sitting on the meditation cushion, when one goes to sleep, called clear light asleep yoga. The last is the clear light of death when one dies. These states are the following: awake, dreaming, and death. Tummo is the basic for the meditation practice. It brings infinite radiance, stillness, and formless into everyday life. The ultimate state is elusive, non-physicality, a clear mind, clear sight. Glenn says there is an infinite me, yet all forms disappear. According to Lama Glenn, one learns how to lean towards form in everyday life, and at the same time, lead to the elusive non-physicality, clear mind, clear sight. The Kabbalistic calls these states feet on the ground and the head in heaven. One can sit and meditate and only have the five inner senses activate when one enters the clear mind, clear light state. Coming back to the internal senses, one activates the external senses. The goal is to harmonize the two. The philosophy of Tantra says we exist simultaneously on three dimensions: coarse, subtle, and very subtle. Ordinary life is coarse. It consists of our minds and bodies. Everyday life is a part of this. External stimuli create internal experiences in the brain. At the coarse level, everything is experienced in duality. When one tries to meditate for the first time, one brings to the table a coarse mind, a mind that has been conditioned externally. Our body and state of mind creates various chemicals to reflect our state of being. The Buddhists have known this for thousands of years. Only recently has Western scientists embraced this concept and proven it over and over again. Dr. Joe Dispenza is at the forefront of this. The Dalai Lama has each year a conference with scientists from all around the world. This has been going on since the 80s. They have been studying the mind-body connection in the lab ever since. These are called by the Buddhists psychoneurology immune systems. Behind this loud noise lies the subtle body. Our minds and bodies are like tuning forks. We only vibrate at the frequency, the current state of mind and body. Here's an example of being out of balance. In my junior year, my parents took our family to Yosemite. It's probably one of the most incredible places on the planet. Yet I couldn't see the forest from the trees. I was miserable. Why? Because I missed the ocean. Now that is being out of balance. One can be in a heavenly place, and the subtle mind can be out of whack and cause suffering due to the state of mind. Your mental state creates the emotional state of your being. These disturbances are felt in the heart and thyroid. This is called subtle chemistry. The conscious mind and the subconscious mind are the two which control the chemistry. Remember, the subconscious mind controls 95% of our actions. Only 5% is conscious. I find it interesting that Carl Jung was familiar with Buddhist philosophy. I'm sure that much of his understanding came from that. Lama Glenn also believes in this. When one can stop the heart consciously and stop the physical functions, one enters the state of the timeless zone. The Buddhists are trained in breath retention. Tumo is the process of holding your breath and sending it to the heart. Then pure alchemy occurs and the higher chemicals are secreted into the body. According to Lama Glenn, by bringing all the energies to the heart, we become like a one-cell being. Arising from that brings the most subtle mind to be activated. Most of humanity lives in dense bodies. Need I say more? Look at the world today. Furthermore, Lama Glenn said, don't believe anything externally that's in the shape of an outside appearance. It's all illusionary. The biggest obstacles is to overcome the attachment to the ordinary appearance of things. This is called Maya, the great illusion. Talk to a quantum scientist and they will tell you about the quantum field. This has been proven over 100 years ago, yet we still live in the Newtonian model. At the next level, we try to manipulate these drops of chemicals to our advantage. In the beginning, we work with the four principal chakras, the navel chakra, heart chakra, throat chakra, and the center of the brain chakra. These chakras help speed up the evolutional process. The Tantra states that one day of meditating in this state is equivalent to 100 years of normal evolution. Paramahansa Yogananda said the same thing with Kriya Yoga. Anyway, there are scientific practices that can speed up this practice. The basic of the Tantra practice is to go from gross mind to the subtle mind and ultimately to the very subtle mind. Tumo, illusionary body, and clear light is the process to take you from the gross, subtle, and very subtle bodies. One achieves enlightenment by these three practices of yoga. Tumo energy always starts with physical exercises. There are 6 main exercises. First one is similar to pranayama. They do this because most humans are shallow breathers. The purpose is to harmonize the male and female energies. This is the same concept of harmonizing the Ida and the Pingala nerves. These breathing exercises are done 3 times. When you do this, both nostrils should be balanced. If not, repeat the 3 rounds. Note for further explanation on taking the class. One should always do this before doing Tumo. During Tumo, one day does fast breathing through the nose. According to Lama Glenn's instructions, breathe in through the nose, swallow if you want. This will put the abdomen in the correct position. Hold for 45 seconds, relax, and slowly exhale the breath through the nostrils. Do this for around 10 minutes. Then do the same by rotating your abdomen clockwise and counterclockwise 3 times each. This is vitalizing your external organs. You're rotating the entire solar plexus regions. Do this without moving your backbone or shoulders. Remember to press down and pull up. This massages the gallbladder, pancreas, kidneys, and other vital organs. It is very good for digestion. Do the same, but push the stomach out and in. This is arising the fire energies. It also helps with the internal organs. No, don't read this book and try to do the exercises. You must learn from a qualified teacher. I'm just a mere beginner like you. Tumo means fierce woman. Thy digestive system is the system of the fire element. Did you know that there's a junction box with 72,000 nadis or energy channels that are wired there? It's not physical, yet it's real. Someday in the future, scientists will develop instruments which shows this. The acupuncturists of today know about this, along with the Taoists, yogis, lamas, and Jains. In Tantra, sexual energy is the purest and primitive energy, our brain energy, so the most impure because of the condition of our external stimuli, state of mind, and body. According to Lama Glenn, by rising this sexual energy, our neural system is heightened by this pure energy. There are 108 exercises, but only 6 are needed. Lama Glenn's favorite exercises is look at 1:48:51 in the YouTube video. This is somewhat complicated. It just needs daily practice. Garchen Rinpoche said the following: the essence of Tumo meditation is to focus on the burning heat. One doesn't meditate on this in the ordinary way. Our body comes from our mother and father. When we were growing up in our mother's womb, her energy and life force entered us through our belly button, which makes it a very special place. It is said that through the white essence that we receive from our fathers, we give birth to the effective emotion of dislike, which generated our bones. Through the red essence that we receive from our mothers, we give birth to desire, and this generates our blood and flesh. In Tumo practice, we meditate on Varja Vihari in the form of a blazing line. Our mother's blessing truly resides in our precious human body. You can see the side of this blessing in the form of your navel. When we hold our breath there, using the Voss breathing method, the breath unites with our mind at that place in our body. The heat is ignited. This is the essence of Tumo meditation. Heat is generated in the body. Heat is necessary to live. It is part of our life force. When heat decreases, our life decreases. Longevity is heat. It is fire. Our life force is really heat. When our consciousness separates from the heat of our body, we die. Death in the body occurs when we lose the heat of our life force. So one of the benefits of mixing consciousness and heat in the body is longevity. Also, when you have heat, there is bliss. When you have bliss, there is clarity. When you have clarity, there is non-conceptual realization. Garchen Rinpoche. Intro. I truly believe in synchronicity. The title of this book is The Physics of Spirituality. Mind you, I did not come up with this title. My twin brother's John's business partner and dear friend Gurminder Singh Kalasa came up with this title. They have known each other for over 33 years. I've been fascinated by physics and the foundation of consciousness in the universe. For almost 50 years, I've been meditating. You could say my brother and I have a knack for it. If you've been reading my books, which you probably have, I've been writing about the practical experience behind all religions. They are all talking about the same thing. In the past few months, I wanted to talk about the Sikhs. They have an incredible background which the West has ignored. Gurminder's passion is studying the quantum field, using the external lab and internal lab. We will get to that in this book.
Intro. Come with me on this precious journey of life. This book first got started way back in 2001. I first heard about the Kabbalah back in the mid-70s. In Until recently, you had to be Jewish, you had to be a male, you had to be over 40. The Kabbalah was an esoteric aspect of Jewish tradition. It existed for over 2,000 years. In September of 2001, my wife and I embarked on this incredible journey. Karen Greenberg was a great teacher who taught a group of us in Penn Valley, California. She lived in Michigan. Karen came 4 times a year to teach us. We had monthly classes where we would meet at our house. My wife and I were instructors for this class. We'd say, if you want to learn something, you should teach it. Well, I decided to channel the wisdom. I used the book Ted Andrews, which had all the archetype symbols for each Sephirah. This is called the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is a diagram used in various mystical traditions. It usually consists of 10 nodes symbolizing different archetypes and 22 lines connecting the nodes. The nodes are often arranged into 3 columns to represent they belong to a common category. We only studied the 10 nodes. For each node, we spent the month studying and experiencing the particular node or Sephirah. This is from Wikipedia. Carl Jung understood archetypes as universal archaic patterns and images that derive from the collective unconscious and are the psychic counterpart of instinct. They have inherent potentials that are actualized when they enter consciousness as images or manifest in behavior on interaction with the outside world. To be quite frank, I never worked with archetype symbols before. I first was exposed to them at the Monroe Institute in the mid-80s. I spent a week there. For some reason, it was love at first sight. With my meditation experience, I found it easy to tap into each symbol. I believe there are universal archetype symbols that exist in the collective unconscious. You might ask yourself, why would anybody want to learn this? Well, I like the analogy. The goal is to have your feet on the ground and your head in heaven. I like that statement. I like the idea to be proactive in life. Most of humanity is reactive. We can't control our minds and emotions. Look at the current situation today. People are divided. The nation is divided. People are flaming each other on Facebook. As I said, our class only studied an individual Sephirah for a month. In the old days, they studied one a year. Times have changed. Personally, I think the learning aspect has quit. Knowledge and wisdoms come from the heart. When the mind and heart are in coherence, the ability to gain wisdom occurs. I hope this book will help guide you on your journey in life. We all have our particular point of view on life. This is my personal journey. It has made me a better person. To be honest, I don't study this anymore, yet the foundation lies inside of me. Day by day, moment by moment, my goal is to be a better person. I take responsibility for my life. I'm learning to respect all different faiths and traditions. We're all on the same boat of life, sailing together. Bon voyage.
Welcome to the world of shamanism. Shamanism is a religious practice that involves a practitioner, a shaman, who is believed to interact with the spirit world through a direct, altered state of consciousness, such as trance. The goal of this is usually to direct these spirits or spiritual energies into the physical world for healing or some other purpose. This is the most given definition. Yet I take a different spin on it. I'm taking the modern day approach. Everyone alive on Earth is a shaman. The jewel exists inside of us. The quantum field exists everywhere. It's existing beyond time and space. It exists in the seen and unseen world. It exists in all dimensions and universes. The shamans of all traditions know this. They know the interconnectedness of all creation. The Mother Earth and man are interconnected with each other. You don't see indigenous people throwing garbage in the living room of the earth. They don't put up fences. Nobody owns the land. The land is sacred. It seems to me that Western man is still living in conquering the Wild West. We still have the mindset that life must be conquered. Mind you, we annihilated millions of Indians along the way, yet we still don't have any remorse in doing so. You would think that we might change our ways. Yet this is embedded into our consciousness. We feel conquering is the only way. Whether it's war, politics, sports, or business, there are winners and losers. We even fight with Mother Earth. We take and steal precious resources without any sense of morals or ethics. The following is from CNN. Prince Charles made these statements. Only a revolution in the way the global economy and financial markets work can save the planet from the climate crisis and secure future prosperity, Prince Charles warned on Wednesday. We can't go on like this with every month another record in temperatures being broken, he told CNN in an exclusive interview at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. If we leave it too long, then we just have done, just growing things is going to become difficult. The heir to the British throne and lifelong environmentalist was speaking to CNN after he threw down a challenge to the global business and financial elite in Davos to lead a paradigm shift, one that inspires action at revolutionary levels and pace to avert the approaching catastrophe. Do we want to go down in history as the people who did nothing to bring the world back from the brink in time to restore the balance we could have done? I don't want to, he told the audience at the WEF's 50th annual meeting. We must change our awareness and consciousness. We are nonchalantly sawing the branch we are sitting on. Every human on earth holds a particular piece of the puzzle. I firmly believe that the further a society is distant from Mother Earth, the more insanity occurs in civilization. Common sense is uncommon. We lose the wisdom of the earth and the universe. Society no longer is in sync with nature. We develop the Wild West mentality. This gets carried away in all phases of life. Currently, the United States is in a major meltdown due to the silent virus. Yet our president wants to open up schools next month. Yesterday in Florida, over 16,500 people were reported positive. That's just in one day. There is still a furious debate on whether to wear a mask or not. When a society loses connection to Earth, all hell breaks out. We think we are smarter than nature. Man's ego gets so large that he thinks he is in charge of everything. Mother Nature sent us all to our rooms to think things over, yet we got bored and complained the whole time. For many people, they got nothing constructive out of it. The following is from ABC News. I think I made a mistake. I thought this was a hoax, but it's not. Those were the final words of a 30-year-old patient who died at Methodist Hospital in San Antonio this week after attending a so-called COVID party, according to the hospital. Dr. James Appleby, Chief Medical Officer for Methodist Hospital and Methodist Children's Hospital, said in a recorded statement that the unidentified patient told nurses about the party, which he said is hosted by someone diagnosed with the virus. The thought is people get together to see if the virus is real and if anyone gets affected, Appleby said. Appleby said she shared the story not to scare people, but to make sure they understand that the virus can affect anyone. The practice of a shaman is to learn how to be in harmony with the universe and Mother Earth. In the silence lies all the answers to life. This book will take you into the world of the shamans. This is your natural state. As I said many times before, you are the universe. You just don't know it. Shamans have known this fact for thousands of years. To save humanity, we must discover our true nature.
Intro. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. Just think they waited for 50 years to win their next Super Bowl. The city must be on fire with happiness. I must admit, I'm not a football fan. As a matter of fact, I've only seen one game all the way through. This was the playoff finals. I watched the Super Bowl final differently than the average fan. You could say I have a different mindset. You see, I've been meditating for around 49 years. It is my passion and hobby. When I watch the game, I can see the incredible aspects of the game. This is a highly evolved chess game. It's like in the Harry Potter movies. The monsters are alive in the chess pieces. I started to watch the game with earnest. During the playoffs, I saw the Chiefs come behind by 20 points and they won the game. They were playing the Tennessee Titans for the AFC Championships game. During this game, I saw that the team who was in tune with the quantum field had a total advantage. So you're probably saying, yeah, you're crazy, but please listen. I'm sure that all teams know they have good days on the field and off days. Even during a football game, the mindset constantly changes. As I watch the AFC game, I can see whether either team was in sync or not. Call it what it is, but intuition is the key. Without intuition, you could never win the game. At some point in time, the KC Chiefs were in the zone. They could do no wrong. This is a mindset. Every team yearns for this. Every fan yearns to see this. It's quite complicated and sophisticated. Tim Galloway was at the forefront back in the early 70s. He wrote the book, The Inner Game of Tennis. He's still at the forefront of this amazing mindset. Many coaches are using his system today. Tennis is both a mental sport and a physical sport. Your mental state of mind will determine the outcome of the game. This is the same in all aspects of life and sports. With football, it has a much bigger impact. Imagine you have multiple high-speed trains going directly at you, and you have to throw the ball or run for dear life. You must be calm and serene, and yet you have a few seconds to respond. The average person would have a panic attack. We couldn't survive the collision of 3 tacklers hitting us at once. This is far more difficult than a bullfighter. With a bullfighter, at least there's just one bull. But in football, there's a gang ready to pull you down. Yesterday's game went back and forth. There were times that both sides were in total control. To be honest, Patrick Mahomes had a hard time getting into the zone during the first 3 quarters. There was a point during the 4th quarter that the Chiefs were behind 10 points. I didn't see the sparkle in Mahomes' eyes. I wasn't feeling well, so I went to bed. 10 minutes later, my wife screamed and woke me up. I couldn't believe my eyes. The entire team was on fire. I could do no wrong. The San Francisco team couldn't believe what was going on. They ruled the entire game up until this moment. Games are won and lost in a matter of seconds. This book is my perspective on what I saw and helpful hints for the future. It may sound crazy, but the quantum field is known and unknown to us. Mostly, we perceive it on an unconscious level. The teams of the future will tap into it consciously. The teams that do this will have an incredible advantage. We are just skimming the surface. We think the game is merely physical, yet there's a universe behind it. Infinite possibilities exist. I hope that you enjoyed this book. It's quite different, yet Tim talked about this 48 years ago. We are still at the beginning stages of embracing this knowledge.
Long story, short. Here's the short version of a long story. Slightly over a year ago, I saw some sores on my feet. It was winter time, and I thought it was due to the dryness in the air. Anyway, I healed 4 out of 5 of them. The last one was almost 90% healed. I was starting to get a little concerned about why I was taking so long. 2 weeks ago, I woke up and my left foot was extremely inflamed. This did not look good. I went to an acupuncturist who was a medical doctor and an acupuncturist. He told me I had a serious infection. I needed to go to a clinic right now. I went to the clinic and the nurse said the same thing. I needed antibiotics right now. I got my prescription. I started to do some research with my brother. I thought I had a great diet. I hardly ever had junk food. John told me in early 2000s he had a blood test. They said he had a body of a 20-year-old. They also said that if he continued eating bread, tortillas, and cheese, he was heading towards high blood sugar. Well, I never knew about that. I'm not sure even if I had the info, I would have changed. This is what I learned about high insulin levels. Because of the large, unrestricted insulin signaling, hyperinsulinemia increases the risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases, and decreases health span and life expectancy. In epidemiological studies, high-dose insulin therapy is associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Furthermore, the more I researched this subject, I saw that one symptom was that sores took longer than usual to heal. High insulin levels are the culprit in the majority of our diseases. This is from Dr. Benjamin Bickman. Signs that you are insulin resistant. 88% of the people in America has some form of insulin resistance. Well, only 60% of the population is overweight or obese. So if you have a portion of the people that don't fall into the overweight or obese category by current standards, However, there are still failing aspects of metabolic health. So, what are the less obvious signs of insulin resistance? If you can't fast for 12 hours, that's a terrible sign. It's a reflection of insulin resistance and chronically elevated insulin. If insulin is high, you won't be able to burn fat for fuel. It's time to help your body learn how to use fat for energy. High blood pressure and infertility are also signs of insulin resistance. The story continues.
In the beginning was the Word, before time and space, before creation, before the void, primordial energy, a primordial Word. This Word cannot be spoken. This Word is, was, and will always be. This Word was God, and this Word is God. All scriptures talk about the Word, yet it is beyond the scriptures. All religions talk about the Word, yet it is beyond religion. Science talk about the Word, but it is beyond science. This Word exists inside of you. What is keeping you alive? When you know this, you will know the answer to this puzzle. Have you ever wondered about the common denominator of all religions? Is there a thread which ties them together? They all believe in some force that is universal, beyond time and space, is, was, and will always be. Some people call it God, generator, operator, and destroyers. The Hindus might say Rama, Vishnu, and Shiva. For the Buddhists, it's Nirvana. For the modern scientist, it's energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Positive, negative, and neutral energy. Is there a common theme? All religions talk about light. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. In the Gita, Krishna reveals a light more brilliant than a billion suns. Is that metaphorically speaking? What happens when we split The Buddhist has scriptures that talk about a great light upon death. Every religion known to man talks about a light. Every religion talks about the Word of God. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Latin translation of word was logos. Logos means power. In the beginning was an infinite power. This power was with God, and this power was God. Maybe they were talking about the same thing. Is science and religion both talking about the same thing? This word, according to religions, cannot be spoken. According to the Tao beliefs, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. Is there a primordial word or energy that is, was, or will always be? Could this word exist everywhere, beyond time, beyond space, universe, one, verso, word, one word? Could there be a universal frequency that exists everywhere? Before creation, before the war, before anything we can dream of. Is there a way to connect ourselves to that experience? What would happen? The Hindus have a saying, Sat Chit Anand. Truth is the consciousness of bliss. When the mind is absorbed in truth, the consciousness is in bliss. Truth is, was, and will always be. If the Word of God can't be spoken and is, was, and always, aren't they talking about the same experience? Christ said, the kingdom of heaven lies within. Buddha talks about the inner kingdom. The Jews talk about the inner kingdom. The Hindus talk about an inner kingdom. The Taoists talk about an inner kingdom. How does one connect to this kingdom? Is the human body wired for this experience? If we are created in the image of our Father, I think He would wire us properly. Human beings, human, divine, man, being. Maybe all religions were talking about the same experience. Since the advent of the nuclear age, man has discovered that everything has a frequency. We are not just matter.
energy is both light and sound. Science knows that both energy and mass are the same thing. Is there a pure mass which is contained in the whole universe? Is there something that contains